Chapter 797, Heavenly Sovereign's Prison. Chapter 797, Heavenly Sovereign's Prison. Proofreader. Papatonks. Humanity focuses on insight. To advance, they need to go through the stages. Sacred beasts rely on power and need to amass greater power to advance. This ended up being the root of the most terrible war of all time. Dragon Ancestor's eyes shone as he grit his fangs, showing his bloodlust. All humans searched for a way to advance, with almost none succeeding. But 2 sovereigns and 1 beast had their own ideas. They were the strongest heavenly sovereign, the most devious 9 serenities, and the most unscrupulous geezer Kuanping. If not for him, Thunder Phoenix would have never had suffered so much at Heavenly Sovereign's insidious blow. Zhuo Fan's heart shook. Heavenly Sovereign hurt the Thunder Phoenix. How else do you think the purple lightning gold eye came to be? Decimating Dragon Ancestor mocked. Each of these 3 had their own way of overcoming the Sovereign stage. Heavenly Sovereign wanted to do it through the divine eye of the void that contained everything. By holding all the world offered, he'll become its supreme ruler. 9 serenities Sovereign pondered that all things had the same source, the world's Tao. By wielding the world's power, wouldn't you have it all? Through their own understanding, each ruled. Zhuo Fan shook and nodded. This must be the source of the demon transformation art. A shame 9 serenities Sovereign never got the chance to train it, having gone missing. As for Kuanping, Dragon Ancestor grew angry, his burning claw swiping around. He actually wanted to steal our 4 great sacred beasts' power. By means of returning them to primal chaos, he would go beyond a sacred beast and reach the highest level. What? Combining 5 great sacred beasts' powers? Zhuo Fan was shocked. Thinking about it, he had considered it as well at some point. But he was not the first. Kuanping came up with it in ancient times. If he hadn't combined 4 of them already, Zhuo Fan would have labeled Kuanping as a madman. 5 extreme powers clashing into each other? It'd be a miracle if you were still around to tell the tale, but having gone through that preliminary process, he knew that the result would be beyond the 5 great sacred beasts' power, so much so, it was in another realm. While Kuanping's intentions were dubious at best, this avenue showed promise. As for success, it all came down to how he handled these powers. Dragon Ancestor continued in a dark tone. Ever since the 10 sovereigns appeared, we could no longer overlook humanity. But humans are deceitful, unlike the frank spiritual beasts. To come in contact with the 10 sovereigns, we elected the most glib sacred beast among us, Kuanping. We had no way of knowing the crafty Kuanping, who only mediated our conflicts, had been corrupted by humanity's twisted minds. To test whether the 5 powers could be combined, he created the word-crushing array that 5 beasts could use. He came to us with it by lying it was to counter the 10 sovereigns. The day the array was employed, no matter how strong the 5 powers were, there was no sign of joining together. Disappointed, he figured the powers were still inside each of us, and that's why they could not fuse correctly. So he sought the help of Heavenly Sovereign. The first victim ended up to be Thunder Phoenix. That means young Sanzi is in terrible danger. Zhuo Fan panicked. He had severe doubts about Kuanping from the start, but since he had done nothing untoward so far, he let down his guard. But hearing Kuanping's goal from Dragon Ancestor, letting Jiyu Santong in his charge was like handing him on a silver platter. Dragon Ancestor shook his head. Worry not. The old coot won't touch the kid. He's still growing. All the powers in the world are in balance. A tiny Chelene won't put a dent in his appetite to begin with. It's too soon for his plan. Besides, he has yet to find the right way to even achieve it. Nodding, Zhuo Fan eased a heavy breath. But even so, he was still worried about leaving young Sanzi with that geezer. Especially since he painted a pretty picture when he asked you to come save us. It's obvious to everyone that with your immature divine eye of the void, there won't be any rescue. His meaning was to make peace, since we all have a common enemy. Heavenly Sovereign? Zhuo Fan's heart thumped. Dragon Ancestor's mood was heavy. Yes, when he went to ally with Heavenly Sovereign, it was the worst mistake of his life. Heavenly Sovereign's ambition was far greater. After stealing Thunder Phoenix's berserk purple lightning, he turned. Heavenly Sovereign is a proud man, considering everyone beneath him, even us, sacred beasts. But he feared our powers. Especially Thunder Phoenix's, known to be a destructive force of raw power, the most terrible of the 5. If he took the purple lightning for himself, then nothing in the world could escape his divine eye of the void. He worked with Kuanping, but only to test his limits. Once he assessed them, he went to work on his true plan, which included all living things. What is it? Zhuo Fan asked even as his mind worked some guesses with a sneer. The dragon ancestor said, as an inheritor of the divine eye of the void, you still don't know its power? A new world. Yes, creating an entirely new world and having everything moved there, to become its supreme ruler. Taking a deep breath, the dragon ancestor revealed a hint of fear. This is without a doubt a catastrophe to this world. With everything contained in his eye, will be nothing but cattle. Or, worse, he plans on using the power of the entire world to advance beyond the sovereign stage and attain true dominion. Sacred beasts being against this was obvious, but even the other sovereigns would defy it. This marked the start of a great war among the 10 ancient sovereigns. It ravaged the lands for millennia, taking a heavy toll on its inhabitants. No matter how strong Heavenly Sovereign was, not even he was assured of victory. To make sure his ultimate skill did not go out, he used an imparting stone, hiding it behind a realm. Finding out about this, we planned on stealing it and figuring out its weaknesses, but soon, Heavenly Sovereign noticed our plan. Enraged, he hunted us 4 sacred beasts down. With the power of his eye, he created the mortal domain to trap us. In essence, the mortal domain is Heavenly Sovereign's prison, and we the inmates. We were being assaulted by berserk purple lightning every day, wanting to take back his art. He had no idea Chelene had taken it. Ha ha ha. Dragon ancestor laughed, but his joy was with tears. For the great sacred beasts to be trapped by a single man, this was no longer shame, but humiliation. And he was Heavenly Sovereign, the strongest sovereign. For a reason Zhuo Fan was dumbstruck. Every sacred domain denizen believed the lowest rung, the mortal domain, was made naturally. Now he found out the truth that Heavenly Sovereign had created it to trap the sacred beasts. Just what power is that? Isn't this like being the ruler of a world? Is this the power of a sovereign? Dragon ancestor broke him out of his dazed look with a smile. Heavenly Sovereign is the very peak of this world. Zhuo Fan sighed afterward. We roamed the mortal domain, suffering every day, oblivious of how the 10 sovereigns' war was going. Then the 10 sovereigns vanished practically overnight. The rumors say they fell, dead fighting each other. Zhuo Fan sighed. Dragon ancestor cracked up. Ha ha ha, they fell? Don't make me laugh. Granted, others might fall, but Heavenly Sovereign? What about this prison, isn't it still standing? The mortal domain will stand as long as Heavenly Sovereign lives. Craning his head up, Zhuo Fan asked in disbelief. Dragon ancestor shook his head. I'm unsure either. The mortal domain was something he made with his eye. I don't know if it would vanish once he's dead. But I can still feel his piercing gaze on this world, to see if we have yet to still be under the purple lightning's onslaught. Heavenly Sovereign still watches this place. Maybe not watch, since everything here is in the palm of his hand. Dragon ancestor gritted his fangs. Just like in the new world he wants to make in his own image, the people here are at his whim. As if the world laws or the 10 paths to heaven, the amount of experts are limited. He appears to be the overlord of this world, pressing down on the strong cultivators. Kid, you came from the sacred domain, but have you ever heard of anyone from the mortal domain reaching the sacred domain? Zhuo Fan frowned. I have never thought about it like that. But the mortal domain's spiritual energy is thin and makes it hard for. A thought struck Zhuo Fan. You mean? Quite. Dragon ancestor's voice was firm. In the mortal domain, Heavenly Sovereign's world, not only is cultivation suppressed, but no one is allowed to leave it. If there's a true outstanding genius that comes out, humph, Heavenly Sovereign's rage would bore down on him, snuffing him out. In the end, this place is a test for Heavenly Sovereign's new world. He is the lord over it and we are merely the guinea pigs populating it. Chapter 798, Apocalyptic Thunderflame Eye. Chapter 798, Apocalyptic Thunderflame Eye. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan was overwhelmed by what Dragon Ancestor declared, finding it very hard to believe it was true. That's simply godlike. It goes beyond what any expert can do. Humph, no god has the power to create world laws. Dragon Ancestor sighed, but in the mortal domain, Heavenly Sovereign is tantamount to the Creator, having everything in this world under his control. This is the greatest ability of the divine eye of the void, a new world. Zhuo Fan stood there, dazed, unable to conceive the 10 ancient sovereigns could hold so much power, having never seen them before. Although from the dragon ancestor's words, he did know one, it was obvious the rest were no pushovers either. Dragon ancestor, I see that you control this place as well. Zhuo Fan looked around at the fiery place. There's no berserk purple lightning here and Yi Lin can come and go whenever. Getting out of here should be easy for you. Are you perhaps stalling it out of fear of Heavenly Sovereign? The huge fiery head nodded. Yes, I'm not sure if the sovereigns have gone like you said, Heavenly Sovereign included. They might be just heavily wounded. But even so, he's still the master of the mortal domain. While disregarding feeble ants like you scurrying around, he will definitely look closer at us sacred beasts. Especially when he had made preparation in the mortal domain. Back then, he and Sword Sovereign had created 5 sacred weapons to guard the mortal domain. The moment they sense our energy, they would suck the 5 sacred minds dry, then come to kill us. And since this is the mortal domain, under divine eye of the void suppression, our power is severely weaker than in the sacred domain and can't block them. Speaking of, you already got one to accept you. The mortal domain's 5 lands defending sacred weapons were made by Heavenly Sovereign and Sword Sovereign for you in mind. Zhuo Fan cried out. Dragon Ancestor nodded. Among the 10 sovereigns, Sword Sovereign specialized in refining weapons, and also Heavenly Sovereign's confidant. While Heavenly Sovereign made this place, Sword Sovereign placed the many arrays. Even if we overcame years of purple lightning torture, we won't leave still. Those sacred weapons are our jailers. We have nowhere to run. I see. I was wondering why the divine eye of the void could resist the sacred weapon. It's because it won't fight what came from its master. Zhuo Fan nodded as things began to fall into place. When he went to the sacred mine, he was attacked by the sacred weapon, all because it sensed the Qilin energy on him, but then he frowned. What of vaulting Kuanpeng? He's in no prison, able to go wherever in the mortal domain. Why isn't he afraid of Heavenly Sovereign? Is he still on Heavenly Sovereign's side? Not at all. To be honest, Heavenly Sovereign has no use for him any longer. Heavenly Sovereign wanted to capture him and force him to give up his techniques, but always failed. He failed. Showing off as the king of beasts in the All-Beast mountain range, Zhuo Fan was stunned. Dragon Ancestor smiled. That's Heavenly Sovereign's only lapse. He is but a sovereign, no matter how powerful, and not the master of the real world to govern everything. Kid, you know as well that Kuanpeng Giza's chaos flame can harmonize yin and yang, able to blend the primal chaos power at the source of every being. He hides in the All-Beast mountain range so that the beasts there mask his energy. Not even Heavenly Sovereign can find him like that, unless he comes out himself. With the beasts hiding him, he'd be no different from the other humans mingling about in the mortal domain. Moreover, Heavenly Sovereign would never think that having us imprisoned in these spaces, that old Giza long ago hid in the All-Beast mountain range, still within the range of his prison. The safest place is also the most dangerous. I bet Heavenly Sovereign must be scouring this world for the Coot but won't ever find him. Zhuo Fan nodded, now realizing the azure flame was so ingenious. Or maybe Kuanpeng is so devious. Now I've explained to you all the ins and outs and you should understand the world better. My warning should now be much clearer. Dragon Ancestor finished his sad story and returned back to the main topic. Shaking all over, Zhuo Fan's eyes glazed over. Still reluctant, you should know by now who Heavenly Sovereign is. He made the mortal domain, imprisoning us and using purple lightning to torture us. Why didn't he kill us? Isn't it to find his art and not get anyone to learn it? This just shows how much he cares for it. Staring at Zhuo Fan, the Dragon Emperor spoke, which is obvious, with how much of a threat someone stumbling upon the divine eye of the void would become. It's something he will not tolerate. If not for the crisis he was under when the other sovereigns attacked him, he would never make a record of his art to safeguard it. Zhuo Fan shook and closed his eyes, his fists clenched. Dragon Ancestor sighed. Kid, you're the successor of the strongest sovereign. It's your fortune and curse. When Kuanpeng pushed you to find Qilin, it was to get you on his side, but in the end it all came down to your greed, wanting that supreme treasure. Now you know the divine eye of the void, and that makes you Heavenly Sovereign's target. Your enemy is the strongest in the world that can take your life at any time. And you still want to involve your wife and friends into this danger? And what if I give it up? What if I destroy it? Zhuo Fan shook and clenched his teeth. Dragon Ancestor shook his head. Kid, do you know what successor means? It's not just the skill, but the path. Divine Eye of the Void is Heavenly Sovereign's greatest skill. Containing within is his void path. As you train it, you'll gain insights and blend with the Tao. It seeps into your bones, it fills your soul. It will never leave you for as long as you live. What's the use ruining the skill? Heavenly Sovereign will still find you from your aura. Zhuo Fan shook all over, feeling regret flooding his heart. His jaw was locked so tight blood flowed. Just why did I train this skill? Kid, it seems you still don't want to give it up. But, Dragon Ancestor continued, if you don't let go, you're killing the others. You don't want them to suffer for your mistakes, but one day they'll die at Heavenly Sovereign's hand. The more you hang on to it, the more it slips away. Let it go and it will come. Isn't it enough to see them safe from afar? Zhuo Fan's eyes were filled with loss. He had been alone all his first life, but not anymore. But Providence played the biggest joke on him. To stop being alone, he had to walk alone. Ha ha ha, if fate exists, who planned this out for me, toying with me to such extent? Zhuo Fan showed a self-deprecating smile, one filled with endless sorrow and malcontent at the world. Dragon Ancestor used a sharp talon to pat his shoulder. Hey, kid, don't go losing it over something so small. Heavenly Sovereign is strong, but not invincible. As long you follow my teachings, we, sacred beasts, will overcome him, and you will overcome this suffering as well. Before that though, don't let trifles bog you down. Always follow my words above all else. As he finished, Zhuo Fan's body ignited in a golden flame, then the azure flame appeared as well, along with the crackling of purple lightning and Chaline's red glow. 4 of the sacred beast powers came out. Even Dragon Ancestor had to pause. What just happened? Then a pitch-black energy came spread over Zhuo Fan, sucking in the 4 powers and slowly combining them. This. With wide eyes, Dragon Ancestor shook from disbelief. Crack. With the crack of thunder, black flames exploded, and under decimating Dragon Ancestor's incredulous gaze, Zhuo Fan's body was covered in black flames with peals of black lightning flashing within. A dreaded power was released, making even the decimating Dragon Ancestor shudder. Is this the form of our combined powers? Standing there, Dragon Ancestor muttered, but our powers come from the primal chaos, with life at its core. So why then do I feel total destruction when I sense this power? Even I'm feeling fear from it. Dragon Ancestor tapped the black flame with his claw. A bang went off and he quickly took his claw back. Looking close, the scales on the claw were erased. This can't be. Gasping, Dragon Ancestor looked at Zhuo Fan's black flame like it was a monster. Is this what Kuanpeng was after? But this is no power to dominate, but to destroy. The black flames shrunk and entered Zhuo Fan. But when Zhuo Fan looked at the Dragon Ancestor, he jerked in fright. Zhuo Fan's eyes were stone cold, containing endless destruction. Especially his left eye, holding the same black flame and black flickers. Dragon Ancestor, what I give up today, I will take it back one day. I'll use this, different from Heavenly Sovereign's, apocalyptic thunderflame eye. Zhuo Fan's will was firm. Decimating Dragon Ancestor was dumbstruck, only bobbing his huge head, having felt fear like no other. The destruction aura combing off that black thunderflame made him feel pure terror. Chapter 799, Dragon Breath Pill. Chapter 799, Dragon Breath Pill. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the searing space filled with golden flames, there was one spot untouched. Or better yet, the golden flames always went around it from fear. Zhuo Fan stood in the middle, staring hard at decimating Dragon Ancestor's bulk with sharp eyes. His left eye was pitch black with flashes of black flames and flickering black lightning, while his right eye now sported 6 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void was in the 6th stage. Decimating Dragon Ancestor looked at this freak and trembled. He felt like he struck a familiar figure, like Heavenly Sovereign, yet he feared this little kid even more, especially that left eye. Despite only being in this form, the apocalyptic thunderflame eye was made of 4 sacred beast powers. Its level was above the 5 sacred beasts, bearing down on them logically, The black eye was on a weak user and that shouldn't work on him. But instinct told him to fear it. He felt slight regret from imparting the decimating golden flame to Zhuofan and leading to the creation of something so abominable. Kuanping had been thinking of every way possible on how to get his hands on ultimate power, only for a pup to stumble into it. I wonder what face he'll make when he finds out. Dragon Ancestor relaxed at this point. Pa. A sound came from Zhuofan's left eye and he clenched his teeth. Holding his eye, when he took the hand away, the eye was back to normal, with blood seeping from it. What's wrong? Dragon Ancestor asked. Zhuofan shook his head. The immense loss he felt made him think of how to fight Heavenly Sovereign when the time came, where normal methods were useless. Then he recalled the dreaded Thunderflame, the power that was always out of Kuanping's reach. His head felt hot and the 4 sacred beast powers came out on an impulse, using demon transformation art to fuse them just like when he fought Yi Lin. But after he succeeded, he noticed the Thunderflame was truly abominable. His own body couldn't take the strain. He had no way of keeping it in his body, or it would eat him alive, so he thought of how to dispel it when it came undone by itself. The Thunderflame was made of powers within himself. As these powers' source was him, it would be coming back, and could ignite from a single spark. It was unlike in the Double Dragon Gathering, where it was only temporarily. Aren't I playing with fire here? Luck had it, he was suddenly thinking of Divine Eye of the Void's art. It emphasized space and emptiness, able to contain everything and nothing. Then he entered Divine Eye of the Void's 6th stage, Void Domain. Just like that in the Void, a space was created, similar to Heavenly Sovereign's new world he wanted to create. He then thought of the apocalyptic Thunderflame Eye and understood. The Void Domain was inside his left eye and stored the Thunderflame. Turning it into the apocalyptic Thunderflame Eye, it became clear to him why the Heavenly Sovereign would say that by understanding the Divine Eye of the Void one could train in the Purple Lightning Gold Eye. This was the secret. While he learned the core art, accidents happened. The Thunderflame Eye rebelled on him, hurting his left eye. Is the Thunderflame too strong for Void Domain to hold or just unstable? Am I missing the 5th sacred beast power? Is the Thunderflame Eye incomplete? Decimating Dragon Ancestor's eyes flashed and eased a breath. Thank God the Thunderflame isn't complete, or the kid would have been more terrible than Heavenly Sovereign. Or would have been inviting a worse disaster to deal with. The first, one of our own making too. Both were deep in thought, each to his own devices. When the wounded eye recovered, Zhuofan wiped the bloody tears and spoke in a heavy tone. Dragon Ancestor, you said that you have a way. What is it? What can you possibly do when you've been caught so easily? Humph, kid, don't look down on us so much. Dragon Ancestor grumbled, I might have simplified things, but Heavenly Sovereign paid a heavy price to get us deeply wounded. Maybe that's why he's been in hiding all this time after facing the other sovereigns. From how I see it, he should be hovering on the edge. I mean, it's been ages and there's no sight of him in the sacred domain or before us. Doesn't he want his art back? This is the only explanation. Zhuofan's heart shook. This dragon does have a good point. Since he ain't dead yet hasn't recovered, that means he's stuck like that. Maybe he's really that wounded. That's why we must take this chance. Seeing recognition in Zhuofan's eyes, the Dragon Ancestor said, before Heavenly Sovereign comes back, we must break open the mortal domain and get ourselves out, then kill him while he's weak. There hasn't been a better time to take down the strongest man in the world. Dragon Ancestor's eyes flickered. Zhuofan looked up then frowned. The mortal domain isn't something simple as an isolated space made by a barrier, but a world in itself, even if smaller. To break it won't be easy. Without the power of a sovereign. Ha ha ha, don't worry. I already have a plan. Dragon Ancestor laughed confidently. We'll use a recoiling array to attack with extreme power and break its seal on us. Then we, the sacred beasts, can simply walk out of hiding and no one can stop us, ha ha ha. Brow shaking, Zhuofan said, recoil array? That's something I used in a town to deal with a demonic twerp's fog array. It's not hard, but to strike at something the size of mortal domain, it needs something huge and of immense power. The entire mortal domain's power. Dragon Ancestor's eyes flashed. The 5 lands of the mortal domain will each set up a recoil array. Their power will be enough to break it, crushing Heavenly Sovereign's world. What? Zhuofan shook as he cried out, with the entire lands as the basis, setting up a complete recoil array? Just how big would that make it? Aside from the obscene amount of resources needed, the 5 lands are still in conflict with each other. Who'd go along with your plan in setting up some crazy array? You make a fair point. That's the crux of the problem. Dragon Ancestor nodded. Before you become the lord of the mortal domain, setting it up will be impossible. The factions will fight you every step of the way. That's why I believed relying on Yi Lin alone was impossible. Luckily, there's you. Now that you're stuck with us and have the same enemy, we should be fighting alongside, and unite our efforts. If we, sacred beasts, weren't stuck from coming out, enslaving humanity to set the array would have been easier than coming to you. Zhuo Fan's face was hard and then he nodded whoosh tilde. Dragon Ancestor opened its maw and spewed out tremendous heat. Then, 3 huge glittering golden balls came out. They were just like the golden ball Yi Lin used when he saved Zhuo Fan, only thousands of times bigger. The 3 scorching light balls drifted before Zhuo Fan. Sensing the decimating flames inside, he had to falter a few steps in fear. Dragon Ancestor looked tired after that effort. Kid, you'll have to help us out as we can't do anything to offer direct support. Just take these 3 dragon breath pills and use them to save your life. This. Zhuo Fan felt the huge light ball's immense power and gulped with a snicker. Dragon Ancestor held his head high. These dragon breath pills hold the power of 1 fully powered dragon breath of mine. Not even a sovereign or other sacred beasts will take it head-on. As for the Shun clan in the sacred domain, 1 of them is enough to wipe them out. But giving you these 3 made me tired and need rest. Since I'm in a prison, there's no one who'd come to take advantage of my weakness. Ha ha ha, despite being trapped, I'm quite safe. Dragon Ancestor. Startled Zhuo Fan looked conflicted, but then he cupped his hands. Thank you, Dragon Ancestor, for giving me these 3 precious dragon breath pills. But there shouldn't be anyone near that strength. Dragon Ancestor cut him off with a heavy tone. Kid, you're my hope of getting out of here. I'll be sure to grasp it fully. It might be the mortal domain, but it's hard to say you won't be stumbling into something outrageously hard. There's Kuanping and, ha ha ha, other deviant freaks out there. If they come after you, it always pays to have a last resort. Shaking all over, Zhuo Fan pondered and bowed in gratitude. I am immensely grateful, Dragon Ancestor. Chapter 800, Chao's Transformation. Chapter 800, Chao's Transformation. Proofreader, Papatonks. With a wave of the hand and a flash of light, the 3 terrifying golden spheres were stashed away in Zhuo Fan's ring. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. Dragon Ancestor's dragon breath pills were enough to kill anything beneath Sovereign Stage. It'd be a shame to use it on some nobodies. Zhuo Fan hesitated. He now had a truly insane last resort, but he found no use for it in the mortal domain. When I get ambushed by an army, I'd much rather fight it out than waste it. Zhuo Fan shook his head. He'd been throwing his money around for the past years like a magnet, yet now that he had these 3 killer dragon breath pills, he found himself back to the olden days as a miser. They're just too damn valuable to waste. Staring at Zhuo Fan's happy and worried look, Dragon Ancestor couldn't understand it. The dragon had always been indulging in showing off its power and wealth, so how could he understand Zhuo Fan's predicament? I know this will be hard for you, but this is the extent of help I can offer. Dragon Ancestor clearly misunderstood. Blaming himself, Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, driving the misunderstanding home with a sigh and a shameless nod. Because it's hard, the success is that much worth it. Because winning is everything, you'll do all you can. So Zhuo Fan was back to thinking about how to fleece this mighty Dragon Ancestor for all he was worth. But then, as a array grandmaster, he found a problem. Dragon Ancestor, you want to set up a recoil array. But where does its power come from? The spiritual energy in mortal domain is thin and suppressed as well. Even if the array is set, it won't have much effect. Unless we use the 5 sacred mines. Dragon Ancestor, I urge you to lend me 100 dragon breath pills and I'll snatch the sacred mines. Having found a perfectly logical excuse, Zhuo Fan roared with hope. Dragon Ancestor was about to spew blood. 100? What do you take me for, a dispenser? Glaring at him, the Dragon Ancestor shook his head. No use. Ignoring the fact the 5 mines have sword sovereigns arrays to block their mining and lower the sacred weapons power in killing us when needed, even if we had them by some miracle, it won't be enough to break this barrier. This is a world in itself, even if a bit smaller than the sacred domain. What then? There's not enough juice to power it. Zhuo Fan frowned and sighed. Dragon Ancestor said, I've already figured it out. It's also the second problem of this plan. Setting up a drawing array in the Whirlwind Tunnel. Whirlwind Tunnel? Zhuo Fan was startled. What's that? Dragon Ancestor explained, this is the perfect example why despite how great Heavenly Sovereign's eye is, it's still in the sovereign stage. This mortal domain he created is like a small world, but it has its weakness, tied to the sacred domain, the Whirlwind Tunnel. Think about it. With the sacred domain's incredible spiritual energy, it should seep into the mortal domain through this tunnel, but it's being suppressed by the mortal domain's barrier. It ends up gathered in one place, leading to the formation of a strange pocket over time. Just how the spot where this prison of mine is placed in a similar wind tunnel, the ultimate clarity sect's secret realm. Here, the spiritual energy is thick and leads directly to sacred domain. That's why their disciples' enlightenment comes fast and can form the particular Taiji domain soul that means we can reach the sacred domain through this tunnel. Zhuo Fan cried out. Dragon Ancestor shook his head, if only it were that easy. It is but a cave that barely lets any spiritual energy pass through. Nothing else can cross it. We can only use its spiritual energy to break out of this place. By using a drawing array, it will draw out a lot of energy from sacred domain. With this power, we'll break the barrier, but this solution comes with a problem. Because this wind tunnel has created many strange pockets, like this one, while some are good for cultivation, others are deadly. Though there's one common ground to all of them. Whether they're a hellscape or paradise, all are under a strong faction's ownership. So to set a drawing array in them, you not only have to brave their dangers, but also go through any who oppose you. Zhuo Fan nodded. Since the power supply is settled, the recoil array is feasible. Although, and how am I supposed to find the Whirlwind Tunnel with the mortal domain as big as it is? You can't expect me to run around day and night, right? Zhuo Fan frowned. Dragon Ancestor smiled, his eyes flashing with pride. Easy. When the infernal gorge I am in was drifting across the 5 lands of the mortal domain, despite the constant strikes from berserk purple lightning, I was still able to sense the rough location of where the Whirlwind Tunnel is. Dragon Ancestor raised his huge claw, touching one sharp talon on Zhuo Fan's forehead. Tilde. A visible ripple shot and Zhuo Fan could feel warmth on that spot. A crude sketch appeared in his mind, with 8 dubious markings on it. Dragon Ancestor, the sketch ain't much to go by. Who knows where these tunnels even are? Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Aside from the 8 spots, the surrounding landscape could hardly be distinguished, whether they were mountains, forests, or plains. Dragon Ancestor reddened and snorted. I've been stuck all this time in the infernal gorge while under constant attack, unable to see the outside world. The fact I got their positions is already a blessing, yet you still nag. Anyway, once you go there, you'll definitely find some secret pocket realm, the place where the Whirlwind Tunnel resides. Zhuo Fan nodded and sighed. Hey, kid, you're 9 Serenity's successor, don't tell me now I also have to teach you a drawing array? No, I know how to set it up. Zhuo Fan sighed longer. Let me out. I'll get right on it and get you back to sacred domain. That includes you as well. Dragon Ancestor smiled. Don't ever forget, we're on the same boat. Zhuo Fan nodded. Dragon Ancestor grinned and swiped his claw, making a tunnel in space for Zhuo Fan to pass. Wait, what is it now? Frowning, the Dragon Ancestor asked, for case of minor matters, I'll have Yi Lin assist you. Zhuo Fan shook his head and waved. Qiaoer came out with a flash in this infernal place. Only this time, Qiaoer was still unconscious and fading. Dragon Ancestor started, this. My daughter. Zhuo Fan spoke firmly, she has remained in this critical state ever since she took on Yi Lin's heavy blow. No matter what I tried, nothing could help her. I hope Dragon Ancestor has better chances. Sizing Qiaoer up, the Dragon Ancestor cried out, this spiritual beast's source of power is the berserk purple lightning. Is it the same as Thunder Phoenix's? And that old coot Kunpeng opened her mind. Yes, Qiaoer was born from purple lightning. Ha ha ha, I see. Heaven truly helps us, sacred beast. There's now 30% higher chances we can fight Heavenly Sovereign. Zhuo Fan did not finish as the dragon burst out laughing. Kid, I don't know how you made this miracle happen. Any common sense has within them powers of life and destruction. When hurt, the life energy would recover. But she is different, she hasn't recovered because she lacks such energy. She's imbalanced. Pills will do for minor scratches, but the decimating golden flames damage is no small matter. With her heavy injury and having no life energy in her, any kind of pill won't work. Zhuo Fan pondered, yes, I had used her to absorb purple lightning through her. Demon transformation art is no healing art. At that time, the power she absorbed, whether the demon transformation art's demonic energy, or berserk purple lightning's brutal force, all are elements of destruction, with no life in them. How else would such a pure seed of purple lightning germinate in her? How else would she become the next generation of Thunder Phoenix? Thunder Phoenix? Zhuo Fan was shocked. Dragon ancestor, what are you saying? That the 5 great sacred beasts will once again gather. At that time, Heavenly Sovereign will have no chance of getting away, ha ha ha. Dragon ancestor spewed golden flame on Qiaowa. I shall help you open your mind once more, so you'll transform into a true sacred beast. Chapter 801, Journeying Once More. Chapter 801, Journeying Once More. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS tilde. The scorching golden flames singed Qiaowa's frail body, leaving the impression it snuffed out the final trace of life she had left. Zhuo Fan looked on with worry. Dragon ancestor consoled him, fire is a source of life. Be it my fierce flame, decimating golden flame, or Kunpeng's gentle flame, chaos flame. Only gentle flame is good for alchemy and the soul, while the fierce flame is for refining weapons and the body. Letting the golden flame enter her body won't just remake her body, but open her mind further, setting her on the path of a real sacred beast. Further. Precisely. Dragon ancestor said, fire is the source of life and knowledge. Kunpeng's azure flame helped open her first mind, to speak and cultivate, to overcome the shackles of a spiritual beast as it grows stronger and stronger. My golden flames take it a step further, giving her the body of a sacred beast capable of transformation, what a true sacred beast can do. Zhuo Fan shook. Does that mean all spiritual beasts can become sacred beasts? Hardly, or the world would be in chaos. Ha ha ha, you best remember that the number of experts are limited. Dragon ancestor looked at Qiaowa. Your daughter is special because she is like us at core, born from the strongest power of this world, with berserk purple lightning taking hold within her. That's why, our 2 flames that resonate with her body will help her develop her mind and spirituality. If it were a common spiritual beast, it could only take 1 flame. By using both of them though, it would lead to them clashing inside and exploding. Zhuo Fan nodded, recalling the 3-headed crow at Kunpeng's side. His aide had received Kunpeng's azure flame but would never become a sacred beast because at core, its body did not have any of the 5 powers. Zhuo Fan could not help but smile at Dragon ancestor. What about me? Don't I have both of your flames? A freak 9 serenities sovereign created. Beat it. Dragon ancestor's face twitched and grumbled. Zhuo Fan's weird constitution made him jealous actually. Who wouldn't want a body that could hold 4 of sacred beast powers and fuse them into an unheard of power? Even he had to admit it. Zhuo Fan smiled, looking smug. Everything was connected. That was the core belief behind demon transformation art. Everything could be transformed for the user's use. It was truly obscene. Sacred beasts can't train in human cultivation methods or he'd long have stolen it. Kunpeng especially, if he knew demon transformation art was the way to combine sacred beast powers, he'd have acted on the spot. Tilde. Zhuo Fan was startled awake and watched Qiaowa being covered by azure flames with the searing golden flames on top. Azure flame and golden flame overlapped and combined, forming a savage tornado, lifting Qiaowa up in the air. Zhuo Fan was baffled while Dragon ancestor was calmer than ever. Boom. After the explosion, purple lightning burst forth, erasing the fire tornado. What followed was a flood of lightning everywhere, surrounding an 8-year-old girl with long purple hair and a purple robe. She was the most adorable creature, with her pink cheeks, bright eyes, and white teeth. Zhuo Fan was startled. Dragon ancestor laughed, ha ha ha, the transformation is complete. With some training, this child will be the next Thunder Phoenix. Adding Chaline's son as well, the 5 great sacred beasts will once more gather. Dragon ancestor, is she my daughter? Of course, father. Zhuofan blinked dumbstruck. The girl floated down, as the purple lightning crackled around. She bore a bright smile as she skipped over to Zhuofan and jumped into his arms. Of course I'm your daughter. Can't you recognize me? Of course not. Zhuofan's eyelid twitched, hugging the little girl. Seeing the familiar expression in her eyes, he was feeling overwhelmed. If I could choose, a thunder skylark would be better. Chaoa asked, why? Now that I took human form, I'm really your daughter. Ha ha ha, you won't understand. Zhuofan turned solemn. With the way you are now, that means you've become a sacred beast, taking on Thunder Phoenix's mantle. That means you'll become a target for Heavenly Sovereign. Then, you might even die. Blinking her big eyes, Chaoa was confused. Who's that? Father, if you didn't want for me to transform, why let me? I had no choice. Sighing, Zhuofan glanced at Dragon Ancestor. It wasn't my decision to make. Smiling, the Dragon Ancestor nodded. Yes, I'd have it even if you refused. We need strength right now. Only with all 5 great sacred beasts will we have the greatest power. Alone, we're no match for Heavenly Sovereign. Zhuofan knew this, but was still conflicted. Leave the 2nd generation in my care for now. I'll make sure to unearth all her potential. Dragon Ancestor continued, his tone was irreproachable. Zhuofan nodded, but Chaoa wouldn't have it, hugging his neck and whining, no, I want to go with father. No matter how amazing this kid is, he's just a human and has no idea of the true might of the glorious Thunder Phoenix. However, the Dragon Ancestor's tone was firm. Your mind might be sharp right now and can even understand Berserk Purple Lightning's usage, but that's too slow. By training with me, you'll soon know all of Thunder Phoenix's skills. You'll go home with him later on, but now you must stay with me, to make sure you don't stray. Zhuofan acknowledged this as well. Yes, since you're meant to enter this storm, the best way is for you to get stronger. I can't teach you. Staying with Dragon Ancestor is better. Zhuofan placed Chaoa down, then turned around without hesitation. Dragon Ancestor, open the door and let me out. Sure. Dragon Ancestor clawed and a tunnel formed to the beautiful world outside. Kid, you're a man of ambition, knowing what must be done and not hesitating. Father. Seeing him go, Chaoa's voice trembled. I've never left your side since I was born. Zhuofan halted, struck by a pang of guilt, but he settled his heart, leaving without looking back. He knew from the moment Dragon Ancestor saw Chaoa, that he would want her to improve and make this simple Thunder Skylark enter the deadliest battle as her father. Zhuofan had to do the best he could to give her the highest chance at survival. Father Tilda. As the door faded, Chaoa cried out after him, with tears of abandonment flowing down her cheeks. But Zhuofan not once looked back till the end. When the door closed, Chaoa's cries were cut off and Zhuofan sighed. His eyes closed to regain his calm, then walked forward with purpose. Heavenly Sovereign, the greatest threat was bearing down on him. No one could help him and he couldn't help anyone either. All he could do was give his all to not get those he cared dragged down into this. The rest of his life was bound to be filled with solitude. He could only rely, no, use, the 5 great sacred beasts, stuck with the same misfortune. Whoosh Tilda. Zhuofan barely took a step and Yi Lin appeared. Looking hesitant, Zhuofan simply brushed his shoulder as he walked on with a cold look. Hold on. Yi Lin finally spoke, halting. Zhuofan asked, what? Master must have told you about everything. Yi Lin scratched his head. Our goal is the same. To help Master, we'll have to cooperate. As for the 8 world wind tunnels, I've already placed the drawing array in this secret realm. The others will be harder, even the ones in Western lands. We are, after all, disciples in the Western lands. Are you done? I'm leaving. Zhuofan spoke coldly. Yi Lin started. Wait, Master asked that we set the recoil array together. I don't need you. Zhuofan cut him off. You just stay being a Western lands disciple. I can do it on my own. Also, you saved my life and I'll definitely repay you. Shaking all over, Yi Lin watched Zhuofan go. He set his jaw and shouted, brother. Startled, Zhuofan finally paused his step, looking at him oddly. What did you call me? Elder brother. Yi Lin hesitated with a lowered head. Sacred beasts have rules, making the winner king. Since I lost to you, you're the elder brother. Zhuo Fan turned around and resumed leaving. That is a beast's rule, we are men. Anyway, I'll return the favor for what you did. There's nothing else between us. Elder brother, it doesn't matter. Since I lost, I see you as king. Zhuo Fan never stopped walking also. Senior brother sent a jade slip. Miss Chu is fine. They all think you're dead. Double Dragon Manor is rushing me to come back and report. Elder brother, come with me, or would you like me to send her a message? Trembling, Zhuo Fan stopped again, then left faster. No, just say, I'm dead. Chapter 802, Chuanrong Capital. Chapter 802, Chuanrong Capital. Proofreader, Papa Tonks. Come get your furs. The finest 4th level spiritual beast furs you can find. Iron, black iron, anything you need to make the sharpest spiritual weapons. Get your herbs right here. 4 miracle 3rd grade cures. The market was packed with peddlers shouting out their wares. They got swallowed in the tide of noisy people coming and going, haggling and bickering, always fighting for a profit among this sea of people. One lone figure seemed to drift through it, his black cloak fluttering in the wind when he looked up. His cold face contrasted with the bustling scene. Looking around, he found people with long noses, big eyes, and foreign faces unlike anyone he saw in Tianyu. Zhuo Fan lowered his head again and milled through the crowd and out of here down here. In the capital of Chuanrong Empire, he was the foreigner like a nimble cat. Zhuo Fan's trace was gone without anyone taking notice. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and floated through the bustling street like a ghost. Ever since he left Ultimate Clarity Sect, Zhuo Fan knew the danger he was in, fated to go in this world alone. But after giving it some thought, he still could not help but want to see them again. Elder Yuan, Luo clan, and haha, never mind Ching Cheng. He feared he'd never leave if he saw her. This was a kind of silent goodbye. He would be facing Heavenly Sovereign by himself. It was so convenient there was a world wind tunnel from Dragon Ancestors sketch on his way. Since he was passing through, might as well leave a drawing array behind, but the Dragon Ancestors map was a dubious sketch, a true amateur painter. He might as well know only the 8 locations of the tunnels, and that was pretty much it. At least he knew the rough location, with nothing to go on as to its exact spot. Best keep an ear out while I'm here. Zhuo Fan halted his steps with a grin. Next to him was a rowdy restaurant. When it came to listening, this place was the best location. With world wind tunnels gathered spiritual energy, it's bound to cause some strange occurrences that people can't miss. A native is sure to know more. Zhuo Fan looked up as he walked up to it, finding that it was made up of 8 3-meter big rocks. Chuanrong are so crude, even their culture shows it. From the gate to their homes, nothing here inspires grandeur. Taking the capital's gate for instance, it was twice as tall as that of Tianyu, but not as polished. The capital of Tianyu was a work of art, filled with beauty and refinement. Every corner was thought out, every nook and cranny used, while the Chuanrong capital only looked huge. Size was good, sure, but the rocks used in the buildings were uneven, as if made up at random. Maybe this was how their culture, one based on power and disregarding the details. As they associated themselves with spiritual beasts every day of the week for years and years, their belief in power would only be strengthened. There was a low chance for any sage like the 3 in Tianyu to appear, but this is also why the Chuanrong stand united while Tianyu is filled of bickering fools weakening the empire. This aspect alone would paint the barren Chuanrong nation as stronger than Tianyu. Heaven really is amazing to create such wonderful discrepancies, weak yet strong, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan smiled as he walked in. The waiter spotted him and waved. Will you be dining or staying? We have a quiet room, but it's a bit on the expensive side. No need, I'll stay in the hall. Zhuo Fan shook his head and took a random seat at a table. The waiter lowered his head and saw that the cloak hid Zhuo Fan's features. Guest, you're a foreigner? Yeah. Then where do you? Zhuo Fan eyed him. What, do I have to explain myself to stay here? No, it's just that there are hostilities recently and foreigners have to report. The waiter was put on the spot, sighing. Zhuo Fan ignored him. He didn't give much thought to a lower 3 sect protecting some third-rate empire. Ever since the dragon ancestor used the golden flame to remake his body, his cultivation reached the 8th layer of radiant stage. As for his power, it grew exponentially, not limited to the draconic form Yi Lin had, tough and filled with decimating golden flame, but also wielding the apocalyptic thunderflame eye. That was why he had no qualms coming here. Just that he would much prefer it if he kept his nose down. I come from Tianyu. Any problem? You're from Tianyu? The waiter shouted in shock and looked at him in hatred that got everyone to turn their heads over with some unfriendly looks. Why? You don't like Tianyu? Zhuo Fan eyed the people around, gnashing his teeth. The waiter was spat. That's the least of it. We're mortal enemies. 8 years ago, Tianyu stole our richest lands, forcing us to leave our homes and live in poverty. Many of our soldiers died in the war with Tianyu, so you tell me if I could forget such hatred. War is all about death. Either you die, or I die. This is normal. Moreover, it was you who invaded us first. The war was also within Tianyu. You're the attackers, although you failed in the end. Scratching his nose, Zhuo Fan spoke. You struck first yet failed. Now you blame us for fighting back. The waiter glared in hatred and cursed. Humph, what do you know? This is all Tianyu's twisted plan. They say we should help them settle their unrest, only to label us as invaders later and steal our land on top of it. All of you from Tianyu are nothing but snakes and greedy wastrels. The others nodded, looking at Zhuo Fan with red eyes. Oh, that does make sense. Zhuo Fan nodded. True, it was Tianyu's emperor at the time that invited you to help. I didn't think such a secret would reach the ears of a waiter. This must be the Chuanrong emperor's campaign to keep his seat. But that's the truth and I have nothing to deny it. But this was settled by the leadership, with the common people of Tianyu wholly disagreeing. Now that emperor lost, so of course he can't honor his promise to you. On the contrary, the enemy you two joined to fight ended up taking the power and came to settle scores with you. Since they had no deal with you, their enemies, of course they used you. The waiter's face twitched, then flicked his hand and barked, who cares? All we know is that anyone from Tianyu worked to cheat us. No, Tianyu has many factions. If you side with one, the others are bound to become your enemies. Losing in the end means you bet on the wrong horse. This isn't a matter of Tianyu people's character. For them, you looked like the aides of their enemies who came to kill them. Zhuo Fan waved his hand. The only one to blame is your emperor and his faulty reasoning, involving himself in another empire's matter before understanding its workings. Also, with feeble soldiers, it's best to stay home and defend it, then invade and incite things. Shut your pie hole. The waiter had had enough, shaking from anger. Our emperor is the best in the world. After we lost our lands, he still made sure to settle us in the capital. Our commander is the best in the world, kind to his men and undefeated. Zhuo Fan mocked with a raised eyebrow. The best emperor? Ha ha ha, he lost your land and you call him that after giving you some crumbs? Isn't that his duty to begin with? If he didn't even do that, he'd be failing as an emperor, the best commander. Tuoba Taishan ain't a bad old coot, but undefeated is a bit of a stretch at this point. At least in Tianyu, he lost all the way. How else would you end up without a home? Why, you little? Zhuo Fan's sharp mockery cut deep. The waiter and the others around were fuming mad. In the end the waiter roared, you dare slander our emperor and commander? You won't leave this place alive, man of Tianyu. We'll kill you. Everyone stood up and unleashed their bloodlust on Zhuo Fan as they came charging. Zhuo Fan had nothing better to do than yawn, a few profound heaven experts among a bunch of bone-tempering cultivators. What can nobodies like you do against a radiant stage expert in the 8th layer? Wait, radiant stage? Eyes wide, they all looked dumbstruck. We were too impulsive and got caught up in the flow. Chapter 803, Asking Around. Chapter 803, Asking Around. Proofreader, Papatonks. The silence was deafening. Everyone here looked at each other, then at Zhuo Fan with a dumb look. Though neither budged an inch, the waiter was sweating now, shaking like a leaf next to Zhuo Fan and on the verge of tears. What's wrong with me? The least I could do was check his level before I let anger take me. Only now he saw that his bone-tempering cultivation wasn't enough to see through him. This was an obvious sign the other's level was way higher. The people in the restaurant sized Zhuo Fan up, then lamented their fates. We can't tell anything. We can't even touch him as we are. They all stood stiff in the same spot, while Zhuo Fan snickered. What's the hold up? Didn't you want to kill me? No, no, no. Everyone shook their heads. Passers-bys like them would never reach his level. They'd just be mowed down if they attacked now. Zhuo Fan shook his head. I was wondering why the Chuanrong Emperor would be so impulsive as to step into Qianyu's unrest. Now I see Chuanrong are all brawn, attacking before even looking. It might sound like bravery, even heroism, but it's just a fancy way of calling someone an idiot. Before you start attacking, you should start flexing that thing you have for a head. Well, I guess you lost those hundreds of miles fair and square, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan's mockery made everyone's faces turn red. Zhuo Fan started off with defending himself, but now he was openly disregarding their emperor and their entire people. It made the Chuanrong so angry and filled with hatred, though not enough to attack. Not when Zhuo Fan had the biggest fist around. Seeing them all so tense, Zhuo Fan smiled, though no longer toyed with them, since he had no intention of quarreling with the common folk. Since you guys won't do nothing, I'll attack. The waiter shouted, scared to death. A radiant stage cultivator could kill them with a thought. They'd be slaughtered. The others panicked and fell to their knees, begging for their lives. Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan huffed, who'd kill you? You're not even worth it. I was gonna say that since you won't start anything, I'll ask some questions and then you can just scram. Oh, just questions. Who the hell jumped the gun and said he'll attack? They relaxed at once, but then, they recalled their panic and shameful act, looking for the instigator. Shit, that scared me to death. All eyes glared at the waiter. He lowered his head with resentment. Can you blame me? How would I know this guy is against the norms? Shouldn't it be if we don't attack, he will? Ignoring their reproaching looks, Zhuo Fan said, Waiter, I'll ask you first. What were those fights you were talking about? With who? You don't know? The waiter was stunned. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and cursed. Why else am I asking you? Yeah, Senior asked you a question and you're quibbling. Hurry up and answer before Senior gets impatient. Waiter, cut the crap and answer. Everyone in the restaurant began to curse at him and make him feel glum. Damn these fools, switching sides at the drop of a hat. They were patriots a second ago alongside me, now they're this Qianyu guy's loyal dogs. Since you can't mess with a radiant stage cultivator, you take it out on a waiter? Zhuo Fan frowned and glared at them to quiet down. The waiter bowed. Sir, we're at war with Qianyu. Since you're from Qianyu, I thought you knew. They're fighting again. Why? For how long? Around a month. The rumor is His Majesty received the full support from the Guardian sect, vowing to get our land back. The waiter sighed, and His Majesty wanted to make up for his mistake 8 years ago, so there's been a martial law in place at the borders, to prevent any Qianyu spies from coming in. That's why when Sir. The patriotic waiter forgot who he was talking to, forgetting he was giving a strong guy from Qianyu a report, so he sewed his mouth shut. Something had to be wrong with his head, to talk when he was aware of the situation. He may be. Don't worry, I'm no spy. Zhuo Fan smiled. Have you ever seen a spy exposing himself like me? Besides, it's common knowledge what you told me so far. I've been away from Qianyu for so many years and want to return. I couldn't know these things. The waiter sighed, relieved. I haven't sold my country. Zhuo Fan pondered carefully. There's a serious problem here. I saw the Luo clan's power and Chuanrong didn't have the strength to invade Qianyu. Also, Beast Taming Sect is offering full support? Humph, it is only one sect while the other has 3 helping it. Unless something fishy is going on here. Did the higher powers reach some debased deal? What are you talking about, sir? The waiter asked. Puzzled. Zhuo Fan waved his hand. Nothing, it doesn't involve you anyway. Chuanrong won't win in any case. There's still something I want to know. Ha ha ha, do you guys have some wonderful scenery around, of immense beauty? Scenery? The waiter was stumped, the people puzzled. He shook his head. Sir, Chuanrong isn't like Qianyu, with rich lands and great sceneries. We're barren, so where can there be such a place here? If you want to enjoy some places, you're better off going to Qianyu. They have far better sceneries. Then what about harsh mountains? Which is the most treacherous area, the place where livestock vanishes the most? Zhuo Fan squinted. Where the wind tunnel gathered spiritual energy, it did not mean paradise would always form. It might not be unlike the local areas, making it truly a danger zone. The waiter was still looking lost. Sir, where have you heard this? We're barren, but not in hell, with a poisoned land. Wouldn't we have died off by now? Frowning, Zhuofan pondered, were the all-dragon's senses out of whack when he made the sketch? There's no sign of the wind tunnel here. That would mean all the other spots were wrong as well. How am I supposed to find 8 wind tunnels on these huge lands? Zhuofan was worried the waiter and the rest did not make a peep, afraid he would kill them. Everyone waited there for his words. Where's the owner? In this tense mood, heads turned as loud footsteps were heard coming into the locale. 2 built men in lavish clothes walked forward, their strong physique clearly making them out to be at peak profound heaven stage. The 6th prince has booked this place. All of you are to leave. The 2 tough guys stuck out their chests, looking smug and cocky, though they did not see the panic that unusually followed. In fact, the people were making shushing gestures in a rush. What's going on here? Are you all deaf? The 6th prince booked this place. Get out now. The 2 barked once more and the people looked at the 2 tough men, trying to hint at them. See him? He can't be offended, so keep it down. Don't disturb him or we'll all get it. However, the 2 muscles did not get to shout again as Zhuofan's cold tone echoed, who are the crazed dogs barking in my ear? Chapter 804, Number 1 Fan. Chapter 804, Number 1 Fan. Proofreader, Papatonks. How dare you? The 2 got so used to having their way, they began shouting at Zhuofan's complaint. Who are you to disturb the 6th prince? Boom. Their tirade was cut short by an explosion. They exploded in a mist of blood while Zhuofan lowered his punch, lamenting, where am I supposed to go from here? The sketch is a bust. The people in the restaurant paled, with some even slumping on the floor. Just 1 punch from an 8th layer radiant stage expert and 2 peak profound heaven cultivators were dead without even a corpse left behind. They died before even knowing what was coming. This guy is brutal, not holding back at all. Those 2 were the prince's men. The fear in everyone only grew as they looked at Zhuofan, shivering in their spots. Hualawa, Hualosha, are you done? The prince is about to arrive. An aged voice sounded from a man with a white beard. Seeing the blood around, he shouted, what's with all this blood? Haven't I told you brats not to kill? How can you feast when there's blood around? Cleaning it up is such a pain too. The people glanced at the old guy but remained silent. He must think the blood comes from us. If only he knew they were his own 2 men. The old man walked inside as he shouted, Hualawa, Hualosha, get out here right now dash, ua. The old man bore a weird look. Why are there so many people around? 6th prince is about to arrive. The others gave him a pitiful look, then waited for Zhuofan to make his move. What's a prince against an 8th layer radiant stage cultivator? If we take a single step without his permission, we might just end up like those 2. Zhuofan was frowning and pondering what to do. The sketch lost its value and he was now stuck. He was so distracted, he did not notice the eerie mood in the restaurant. Sir. The old man wasn't as impulsive as the late 2. Noticing where all eyes were looking, he grew stiff as he sized Zhuofan up. Oh crap, an 8th layer radiant stage expert. He was only in the 4th layer and the prince's household had no such expert either. That was the reason behind his bow and address. Zhuofan was still vexed with his problem to pay him any mind. The old man turned to the waiter. Who is this, sir? The waiter shook his head. The old man looked around and got the same answer from the rest. Sighing, the old man asked, where are the 2 tough men that came in? You're stepping on them. The waiter pointed at the blood. The old man shook and looked at all the red on the floor, then at the stumped Zhuofan in realization. The 2's brash attitudes must have irked this man and they ended up like this. This was bad. Messing with such a strong expert was anything but good. I have to settle it now. But he shows complete disregard to me, who is 4 layers beneath him. Since there's nothing I can do, I'll get help. The old man tiptoed 2 steps back, then ran like hell. The people were stunned. And you call yourself a man in 6th prince's service? Mere thugs that scare the weak ones and flee from anyone strong. Only Zhuofan was still lost in his thoughts, not registering this event. Whoosh tilde. 4 powerful energies came into the restaurant moments later and forced the guests to falter back. 4 elders enter, with one of them being the same guy from before. But the leader was a blonde man with sharp eyes and far stronger. The people in the restaurant knew then and there that this guy was a true expert. Many who met his eyes felt dizzy and in shock. With these four so powerful, are they planning to take on the Tianyu expert? That will mean a brutal battle. Won't that end with us as collateral? The people were restless now, praying to anyone out there not to get dragged into this mess. It was beyond their expectations when they saw the blonde elder bowing before Zhuo Fan. I am High Venerable Jin Buhuan of the 6th Prince from Chuanrong Empire. I ask that you overlook the rude attitude of my men. Get lost. Seeing as the strongest, Jin Buhuan was only one layer lower than him. Zhuo Fan couldn't care less. Stunned, Jin Buhuan felt awkward, then his mood sank. He might be slightly weaker, but to get no respect at all? He had more men as well. If a fight broke out, it might even go in their favor. The white-bearded old man knew this and shouted, "Sir, we respect you as fellow Radiant Stage cultivators and don't wish to fight. We are even willing to overlook killing our men, but even with your 8th layer Radiant Stage cultivation, among the best in Chuanrong, it still won't be enough against numbers. Getting on the imperial family's bad side is ill-advised. I urge you to rethink and let's work this out as friends." Jin Buhuan smiled and nodded at his approach, neither humble nor confrontational, with words said with respect and reason. That should do it. Too bad they weren't dealing with your average Radiant Stage expert. Even a rotten bastard would listen, but not Zhuo Fan, who was loftier than the loftiest freak. All bark and no bite. Zhuo Fan mocked, "You old coots yap for so long because your teeth must be dulled, ha ha ha." Jin Buhuan's face twitched and grew red. He clenched his fists in rage. "Damn punk, we're clearly being nice and you spit on our faces." Zhuo Fan smirked at them. He was annoyed the sketch was a bust and needed a good punching bag to feel better. It just so happened a few poor devils came right at his door. Jin Buhuan glared, "Sir, I don't care who or how strong you are, but you're over the line. I will not take this lying down." Jin Buhuan exploded with power and bloodthirst as he charged at Zhuo Fan. The other 3 elders were right behind him. The oppressive power shook the entire restaurant. The people were pushed back under such pressure. While Zhuo Fan just smiled, he was looking at 4 clowns doing their act. Zhuo Fan mocking gaze enraged Jin Buhuan. He shouted and was about to strike. "Stop. Ua." Halting all of a sudden, Jin Buhuan looked back and bowed. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and saw a fashionable youth walking over. He must be their lord, that 6th prince. Ignoring the elders, the prince looked at Zhuo Fan in shock. His steps were shaky, his lips trembling. Yes, I'm the one that killed your 2 dogs. Now 4 more dogs came to bite me, so you should be coming in only after this is done. There's no need for any blustering either, being more than familiar with this play. Wait till I kill them. If you still want to die, I don't mind sending you off as well." Zhuo Fan waved him off like he was a beggar. The elders were furious and wanted to rip Zhuo Fan to pieces, but the youth was dancing in joy. "Why, Zhuo Fan, how are you still alive? I'm your biggest fan." Huh? Zhuo Fan was perplexed, to say the least. Chapter 805, 6th Prince. Chapter 805, 6th Prince. Proofreader, Papatonks. Giving the youth a long look, Zhuo Fan grumbled and scratched his head. "Have we met? Why can't I remember?" Sir Zhuo, you never met me, but I have." Shaking from excitement, the youth came next to Zhuo Fan and looked at him with stars in his eyes. Zhuo Fan was put off. "And who are you supposed to be? When did you see me?" "At the Double Dragon gathering, Sir Zhuo." Recalling those glorious fights, the youth trembled, his voice shaky. "I was Chuanrong Empire's representative and witnessed Sir's punch erasing all of Beast Taming Sect's team and your rise to fame. From a lower 3 sect disciple, to the best disciple in Western lands. I was moved to tears." Startled, Zhuo Fan finally reacted, "So the kid saw me fight. No wonder I never noticed him. With so many people around, it would have been strange if he had, though he finds this guy's choice of words peculiar. Kid, you're the 6th Prince of Chuanrong Empire?" "Yep." The prince was so excited just by the fact Zhuo Fan talked to him, like it was his honor or something that would make Beast Taming Sect your guardian sect. "So why would you be so thrilled to see me pulverizing them?" Zhuo Fan was quite curious while the prince wrote it off. "Them? They're nothing more than our puppet masters. Their heinous disciples got used to doing anything they wanted, with no one standing up to them. That's why they looked like that at Double Dragon Gathering. They have nothing to do with us. In fact, Serge's punch truly helped us vent. Oh, no problem, though you shouldn't call them heinous, since those guys behind you aren't any better. Zhuo Fan nodded. The prince chuckled, totally accepting the blame. Serge's lesson is true. I have indeed neglected my men's conduct. What does it have to do with me if you care or not? Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. The sixth prince did not mind at all, taking all his words at face value. Yep, Sir Zhuo is a man of ambition, so why would you care about little old Miss faults? But since Sir mentioned it, I'll be sure to rectify it. The sixth prince turned around and spoke harshly at the four elders. Venerable Jin, tell everyone they are forbidden from using their power on the people, or their heads will roll. How can we be seen the same way as those rotten bastards from beast taming sect? How will Sir Zhuo see us then? Yes, sir. Jin Buhuan bowed and then sighed at Zhuo Fan. To be honest, sixth prince was a whimsical guy who was only out to have fun, ignoring everything else. Chuanrong Emperor tried teaching some sense to him, but he just wouldn't listen. Yet now, a short word from Zhuo Fan got him on the straight and narrow. This is the power of an idol. Zhuo Fan felt helpless too. What's it got to do with me? Sir Zhuo, I've been hearing rumors that you've been killed. I've been offering bitter prayers in tears for your safe passing. You can ask them if you don't believe me. True. Sixth prince looked excitedly at Zhuo Fan, then turned to his elders to echo him. They nodded their heads and attested to his conduct. Our prince is your biggest fan. Though what is Sir doing here all of a sudden? Are the rumors fake? Sixth prince asked, grinning. Zhuo Fan mocked as his eyes took on a savage glint. They'll have another thing coming if they think I'll just drop dead. Cool. Sixth prince squealed in adoration at Zhuo Fan's inadvertent posing. Then he turned to his elders. See that? This is Sir Zhuo, the best in Double Dragon Gathering and my idol. Isn't he awesome? Ooh. The four bobbed their heads with a bright smile. Yes, cool, very cool. Though the four's hearts weren't that much into it. As the kid's men, they had to cater to his whims and lower themselves by idolizing his idol. Even Zhuo Fan was of the same opinion, feeling put off by this crazed fan. Though he was about to pick a fight despite the other backing down, the sixth prince's adoration deflated his anger. How could he when the kid was worshipping the ground he walked on? I better get out of here fast. Sixth prince saw him go and rushed to block him. Sir Zhuo, where are you going? You're finally in Chuanrong, so how can you go without me being your host? That's fine. I couldn't find anything here I need, so I'll be going. Zhuo Fan chuckled and walked on. Sixth prince's sparkling eyes rolled about in thought. Then he said, Sir Zhuo, what are you looking for? I know this place the best, so let me help. You? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, sizing him up. Of course, the World Wind Tunnel, with how weird it is, has a high chance of being taken by some really rich and powerful people. How can a nobody know about it? This kid is the sixth prince of Chuanrong, of illustrious pedigree, and can hear many interesting tidbits. Zhuo Fan's eyes lit up. Great, then tell me, are there any spectacular places around here, or any harsh and deadly ones? Spectacular? The prince paused, then clapped. Have you come to enjoy our wonderful lands? In a way. Zhuo Fan strained to agree. Are there any particular landscapes about? Sixth prince beamed. You came to the right man. We have barren lands, but don't lack in some good views either. My new mansion just got built around a wonder like no other. You might even say it's heaven on earth. I dare say, you'll never see anything like it in the whole five land. Really? Zhuo Fan grinned. Sixth prince nodded in pride. Of course, the mighty are bound to steal it from me if they knew of it. Imperial father saw it and wanted to build a summer palace, but I fought him against it and took it from him. That marvel is mine and mine alone. Imperial father will have to ask me if he wants a peek. Ha ha ha. Sir Zhuo, now that you're here, I'll hold a feast at once. Let us enjoy the beauty together, with wine in hand. That's such a waste. Let's just go right now. Zhuo Fan was overjoyed and couldn't wait to get there. Such a godsend, coming right when he was at his lowest. Sixth prince nodded, leading the way with a bright smile. It was his pride and joy to do anything for Zhuo Fan. Jin Buhuan came before the sixth prince before they could go. Prince, please wait. You had a fight with Elder Shi over a girl and His Majesty asked you to make amends. I get that you did not want to receive him at your home, so you came here instead. But if you leave, won't you stand Elder Shi up? We can't have him blow up in anger. Why do I have to apologize to that snake? Humph, not happening. Sixth prince was stubborn. I saw that girl first and that snake came to take her. He even killed all my men. Now Imperial Father wants me to apologize. Whatever for. A has-been elder of beast taming sect is nothing. All he knows is to come to Chuanrong Imperial capital and be vile. Humph, the only reason I set a feast is because you cowards made me. Seeing the prince's attitude, Jin Buhuan shook his head. Prince, it's just some jealousy over a girl. And those guards weren't much worth either. And Elder Shi is an ethereal stage expert that not even His Majesty can mess with. If not for beast taming sect holding him back, he'd be killing us as well. You have to apologize and settle his anger. You also said they lost power in the beast taming sect and it's nothing big yet. So let's make it stay like that. No and no. Sixth prince pointed at Zhuo Fan in his temper. Sir Zhuo fears nothing, winning double dragon gathering by himself. I will follow his example and won't fear that snake. Sir Zhuo, let's go to the mansion for a drink. Let these old fools attend to that damn snake. Zhuo Fan watched the situation go out of hand and did not mind urging the prince to leave. He did not care about offending some ethereal stage expert that one day might come to take the prince's life. Jin Buhuan saw through his intention and bowed. Sir Zhuo, sixth prince has always worshipped you. The news of your death had made him cry for 3 days. All of it is true. Have mercy and don't push master into the fire. Convince him to make amends with Elder Shi. As for the marvel, you'll be seeing it shortly after. Or I would be taking sir while master attends to the guest. Chapter 806, Fuming Elder Shi. Chapter 806, Fuming Elder Shi. Proofreader, Papa Tonks. Zhuo Fan pondered and nodded. All in all, the kid is my fan. While I have no intention of getting dragged into his problem, that doesn't mean I should make his situation worse. The old man has a good idea. Let the master deal with him and someone else will just take me there. Since he was after the World Wind Tunnel, what difference did it make on who took him there? While he might agree, the prince was totally against it. Not happening. Sir Zhuo is my honored guest. I have to do my utmost in fulfilling all of Sir Zhuo's requests. As for that damn snake, let him rot for all I care. Sixth prince stormed out in anger. Zhuo Fan shrugged and followed, but just then, Jin Buhuan rushed next to him and spoke. Sir Zhuo, I've long since heard of the prince praising you, but he's also known to boast a lot, especially about the people he likes, to no end. That's why I do not believe anything he said about you. You heard it yourself, an ethereal stage expert. If angered, he'd go to His Majesty and it would not end with his son taking the fall, but you becoming the scapegoat. For the sixth prince and for your safety, I urge you to convince him to placate Elder Shi and not let his temper flare out. True, a crazed fan like the sixth prince sure has it in him to do that. Zhuo Fan grinned. Only this one time, your master hasn't been boasting. A mere ethereal stage expert is nothing to me. If the prince truly helps me in finding what I seek, I don't see why I can't help you all skin this snake to spare you the trouble. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan walked out after the sixth prince, leaving Jin Buhuan dumbstruck. Is he nuts? An 8th layer radiant stage cultivator wants to fight an ethereal stage expert? No wonder the sixth prince became so obnoxious of late. What good is copying an idol like this? Closing his eyes, Jin Buhuan felt pain in his heart. Elder Jin, the sixth prince is gone. What do we do when Elder Shi comes? The white elder asked tensely, shaking his head. Elder Jin sighed. Master is too stubborn and we can only help him. I just hope Elder Shi will accept it. He shouldn't want to blow things out of proportion either, making His Majesty send for beast taming sect to take him away. Elder Jin turned towards the dumbstruck crowd in the restaurant. What are you standing around for? Didn't you hear our shout? We booked this place. Now scram. Right. They all bobbed their heads and ran like the wind, Finally getting their pardon, they were about to lose their lives under Zhuo Fan's demonic threat, shaking like leaves in fear. Now that they could leave, they were overjoyed they escaped with their lives. Furthermore, the people vowed never to set foot in this accursed restaurant again. The head of the restaurant would have cried if he knew his business had collapsed. Clean this place up and prepare the finest meals and drinks. We're holding a feast. Jin Bu-Huan eyed the messed up place and shouted. The head of the place and the waiter went to work in just 15 minutes. The restaurant looked brand new. Slow steps were heard and a youth with sharp eyes approached the locale. Looking it over, his mood sank. When you fall, all want to kick you. I might have made a mistake that one time and the sect threw me out, but I'm still an ethereal stage expert, damn it. The emperor should be welcoming me. Yet now, a stinking brat is treating me in this wretched shack. Humph, where's the apology in that? Elder Shi, we've been waiting for you. Jin Bu-Huan shouted as he led his 3 men outside the restaurant to bow and welcome. Elder Shi eyed him coldly. What's this supposed to mean? Where's your lord? That brat isn't welcoming me. Well, please don't be upset, Elder Shi. Wiping his sweaty brow, Jin Bu-Huan hurriedly apologized. Prince was feeling unwell and could not come, so he had us. Enough. Boom. Elder Shi flicked his sleeve and a powerful gale swept the 4. They left a trail of blood as they flew. Elder Shi gnashed his teeth. You 4 better get this straight. The only reason I tolerated some punk's affront and agreed to this apology feast is all because of Chuanrong Emperor. But since he doesn't care, he forced my hand. Whoosh tilde. Elder Shi shot straight into the air. Jin Bu-Huan's group cried out. He's going for the 6th prince's mansion. The prince is in danger. Venerable Jin, lighten up. Isn't the prince taking Zhuo Fan to his other mansion? He's not home right now. Yeah, and besides, we still got time to report. We can't delay or the prince might die. Jin Bu-Huan bobbed his head, straightened his wounded body and flew away. With blood dripping from him, the other 3 bore through the pain and followed closely. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan and the 6th prince arrived at a remote mountain, at a place among a forest where a mansion was perfectly blended with the surroundings. Its guards were profound heaven experts. The prince bowed to Zhuo Fan before the door and smiled. Sir Zhuo, after you. Zhuo Fan nodded and strolled right in. 6th prince skipped after him like a good servant, and was happy for it. The guards were dumbstruck. The rash, impulsive, outrageous 6th prince of theirs knew how to be polite. Even when seeing the emperor, this kid would never show any respect. Being the youngest, his majesty doted on him, which made him grow up without any restraints. The fact that he gave up and let his son have this spot for his mansion showed just how much he cared. But now, hey, who's he? Why's the prince acting like that? Don't know. Maybe the father-in-law or brother-in-law? Why else would he be more respectful than when seeing his father? Oh, so the prince finally met his other half. It's good that he stopped visiting brothels, ha ha ha. The guards whispered while the 6th prince led Zhuo Fan to a large building. Zhuo Fan shot the prince a puzzled look. Grinning, the prince pointed at it. Sir Zhuo, the magnificence of the land can only be enjoyed in the truest sense from atop this building. Oh, really? Zhuo Fan frowned, though not bothered that much. Since the wind tunnel couldn't be just seen, might as well just play the guest, and so, the prince took Zhuo Fan 18 stories high, to an elegant room. The prince then walked to the window and opened it, letting in the fresh breeze of humid mountain air. Beyond the window was a 300-meter waterfall. Its immense drop felt like it was descending from the heavens above. Zhuo Fan was stunned, turning his stiff face around. 6th prince, is this the view you were talking about? Yes, isn't it marvelous? The prince spoke with pride. Sir Zhuo, you know as well how poor the land in Chuanrong is. Such a waterfall is a rarity. That's why I had an array placed to hide it and only enjoyed from this place. Even Imperial Father can only come once a month to appreciate this wonder, while I can come every day, ha ha ha. Sir Zhuo, this view is great, my ass. Zhuo Fan snapped as he rained curses. The waterfall is nice and that's it. There's plenty more like it in Tianyu. You think I wasted my time coming here for this thing? I wanted a place with strange occurrences, out of this world even. Something like getting in but can't get out, or a spot where meditating a day equals 10 years. The 6th prince looked like a hurt puppy with his lowered head. But, didn't you say you came to see Chuanrong's scenery? This is the best we could find. It's fine, I was wrong here for not being clear. It seems Chuanrong doesn't have what I seek. I'm leaving. Zhuo Fan sighed and turned away. The sixth prince rushed to stop him. Wait, Sir Zhuo. You're leaving so soon? At least stay for a few days. No thanks. It seems the sketch is useless. I'll go look someplace else. Hold on. The prince cried, you said you wanted to see strange places. Well, Big Brother has such a place. I'll take you there. Your brother? Yes, my elder brother, Chuanrong's crown prince. Sixth prince nodded, his eyes shining with hope. Chapter 807, Suicidal. Chapter 807, Suicidal. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan nodded after a pause. All right, let's go to your brother. Sixth prince perked up, skipping over to Zhuo Fan and about to lead him like an overexcited child. Zhuo Fan chuckled, he really is my greatest fan. Is he that happy to be around me? Sixth prince, run. Elder, she's coming. A shout came from the window and the two saw Jin Buhuan's group covered in blood and collapsing from their flight. Spitting blood again. Sixth prince helped them up. What happened, Venerable Jin? Why are you all like this? Cough, run, prince. Elder, she went on a killing spree to your mansion. We used this chance to warn you. You have to get to the imperial palace. With His Majesty around, maybe his anger can be subdued. That bastard did this to you. His brow shaking, sixth prince hissed, absurd. Even for a beast-taming sect elder, this is too much. Those three have been thrown out of the sect for their mistakes and now they're taking it out on the common folk. Beast-taming sect did cast them out, but they're still its elders, they still have power. The sect will cover for them as long as nothing serious happens. Jin Buhuan shook his head and sighed. Ignoring the fact they were thrown out, they're still in the ethereal stage, who in the Empire would fight them? Prince, we all admire your principles, but I'll have to step out of line here. You're too naive. There are some things, some men, that you can't mess with. Sixth prince's brow quivered as he cursed, those damn geezers, making the entire imperial capital restless, and now they even have the nerve to come after me. Won't that mean they have no restraint against anyone else? How can we rule the Chuanrong Empire in this state? No, I have to plead that imperial father to remove those three bastard. It's no use. Of course His Majesty would want that as well, but no one is strong enough. Jin Buhuan was filled with pain. Those three geezers got kicked out of beast-taming sect and now are running amok. Sixth prince shook in anger, but then he suddenly went still and peeked at Zhuo Fan. In the end, he spoke his mind. Sir Zhuo, what do you think I should do? If I weren't here, your best bet would be hiding in the imperial palace. And you old coots, you were better off sending someone to give us a message while going to imperial palace to seek help instead. Jin Buhuan jerked and facepalmed in regret. Why didn't I think of that? Right, I should have sent someone to report to His Majesty. What am I to do since you're here then? Ignoring Zhuo Fan's proposal, sixth prince wanted to know his stance, whether he'd help. Zhuo Fan spoke calmly, nothing at all. As long. What? Sixth prince asked in hope with an evil grin. Zhuo Fan replied, as long as you take me to the strange place of Crown Prince, you can then do like I suggested, hide in the imperial palace. The prince's face twitched. He knew Zhuo Fan's power, yet the man refused him in the end. Humph. Sixth prince's life is at an end and you still want to go to Crown Prince? Jin Buhuan growled, sixth prince treated you like a guest and this ridiculous idea is your reply? I knew you wouldn't want to get involved as you're not in the ethereal stage, but at least your plan is sound. Zhuo Fan admitted, then you go hide in the imperial palace while I go see Crown Prince alone. The great Crown Prince's manor should be an easy find. Zhuo Fan shot to the skies. Wait, Sir Zhuo, let me take you. Sixth prince rushed after him. Jin Buhuan shook his head and followed as well, about to blow a gasket. Prince, let him go. Your safety's more important. I can't let death scare me from living. The great Sir Zhuo I admire is now here, so how can I not go hang out with him? The prince glared and rushed on. Sir Zhuo, wait for me. They quickly left the building and went away. Whoosh. Just then, a savage cackle resounded. Ha ha ha, brat, so this is where you are. You offended me and against my better judgment, I decided to hear your father out in letting you apologize. But you actually stood me up. Humph, now even if the emperor pleaded for you, it still won't save you. Damn, elder, she caught up. Why so soon? Jin Bu Huan rushed to protect the prince. The ethereal stage expert floated down, looking at the four elders with a twisted smile, mere radiant stage cultivators. Don't you know the fear of ethereal stage experts? Sixth prince, today is the day you, Elder, she looked at the prince's grave face, but then he paused. His face twisted like he saw his worst enemy. You. Elder, she stared at Shuo Fan next to the prince. Shuo Fan paused, looking around, but didn't see anyone stop faking. I'm talking to you. Elder, she clenched his fists, his bloodshot eyes squinting at Shuo Fan as his rage exploded. 8 years have gone and now I finally get to meet you again. Scratching his head, Shuo Fan asked, stumped, we know each other? No. Ha ha ha, not just that. If it weren't for you, bastard, I would have never been thrown out of the sect and lived miserably like this. Howling in sadness, Elder Shi's eyes reflected only hatred. I had nightmares more nights than I could count about that white hair and those eyes. I swore to never forget the pain you brought me. Shuo Fan was perplexed. What's your beef with me? Why can't I remember you? Who're you supposed to be anyway? Ha ha ha, you're so forgetful I see, though it's natural since I've changed my looks. Snickering, Elder Shi said, brat, you still remember the war 8 years ago in Tianyu. You ruined my body. 8 years, I bore that shame with me for 8 damn years. With my body ruined, even getting a new one, my cultivation had stagnated. When I could have managed to reach the 5th layer of ethereal stage, but now the 2nd layer is all this body can allow. But this wasn't the reason for sect leaders' banishment. It's all due to losing that war and letting the demon scheming sect grab hold of proof of our involvement. Then the other 2 sects forced our sect to pay up in spirit stones, making us the criminal. Henceforth, my path was ruined, abandoned by the sect as well. All of this is your fault. You ruined my life. Brat, now that we met, I'll end you and 6th prince, getting rid of all the rancor. Ignoring the cawing, Shuo Fan squinted in thought then exclaimed, oh, so that obscene snake shed his skin. Almost didn't recognize you there. He, Sir Zhuo, it seems you're involved now. You can't stand aside as it is. 6th prince was overjoyed. The 4 elders were startled. What use would he have if he joins? We're all in the radiant stage anyway, unable to face an ethereal stage expert. Only the prince had complete confidence in Shuo Fan. Scratching his nose, Shuo Fan nodded. Yeah, I can't go around going easy on my enemies, now can I? Since I already suffered for it once. Shuo Fan's eyes flashed with coldness and bloodthirst. Elder, she shook for some reason, feeling like a beast had its eyes on him and sending a deep-seated fear in his bones, but then he shook his head to shake it off. There's no way. He's just a radiant stage punk. How can he threaten me? Boom. Before he could make sense of it all, an explosion resounded. A force like no other shot through Elder Shi, the large building behind him, and then stopped in the large waterfall where it went off. A tornado of dust engulfed the sky, mixing with the water turned into mist, roaring as it grew, linking heaven and earth. When the dust finally settled, what reflected in everyone's eyes was utter destruction. The 18-story high building was gone, so was the 300-tall waterfall. But what was more important was that Elder Shi was nowhere in sight. Everywhere the people look, they were welcomed with a flat and barren land. Shuo Fan lowered his fist, his eyes cold, annoying. SSS tilde. Gasping, Jin Bu Huan and everyone else were lost for words. Cool. 6th prince was the first to recover and whooped in joy. Chapter 808, Outstanding Crown Prince. Chapter 808, Outstanding Crown Prince. Proofreader, Papatonks. Lowering his mighty right hand, Shuo Fan looked like he had done a trifle thing. He patted the 6th prince's shoulder. Now hurry along and take me to the crown prince. I hope I'll find what I seek there. Sure thing. After a brief pause of shock, the prince shouted in excitement as he went first. Jin Bu Huan and his 3 men were shell-shocked, just watching the 2 go with a dull look. Holy hell, he really is as strong as 6th prince said. For once, he didn't boast. He's way stronger than he lets on, killing an ethereal stage expert in one punch even. Thank God we didn't fight him before. We'd have been killed as well. The four shivered when they recalled the scene at the restaurant Shuofan, and the prince were a way off when a rumble echoed out and the earth shook. A huge image of a python came out of the ground, hissing, "Damn punk, you ruined my body again. I'm going to eat you alive." "It's Elder Shi's soul." Jin Buhuan cried out. "In the radiant stage, the body might be strong but the soul isn't up to an ethereal stage expert's level. We're done for." Jin Buhuan panicked and Elder Shi snickered. "Yes, brat, you ambushed me again and ruined my body, but there's no way a radiant stage like you can deal with my soul." Whoosh. He didn't finish as a scarlet dragon claw came out of Shuofan and gripped the squirming oversized garden snake. He choked on his words, with those sharp eyes reflecting fear like no other. "This is a soul? How? His only in the radiant stage. Humph, this is what you get for being stupid. You could have just floated away as your soul, but no, you had to be suicidal." Ha ha ha. Zhuofan's eyes flashed and the scarlet dragon claw squeezed. The oversized snake wailed one last time as it was reduced to motes of spiritual energy scattered around. The dragon claw went back to Zhuofan and resumed following sixth prince like nothing happened. Jin Buhuan's face twitched with a dumb look as they watched Zhuofan going about his way. They all had the same shocked look and idea. Since when can a radiant stage cultivator form his soul? A true freak. Meanwhile, a man and a woman were sitting in a pavilion next to a graceful lake. The man wore a crown and was presentable, stacked in jewelry. Though his elegance was ruined by his sinister smile, especially when aimed at the woman next to him. As for the woman, she was a beaut, bright eyes, sculpted eyebrows. Alas, the image was marred somewhat by her constant frown. Around them were singing and dancing girls, but as the obscene music and suggestive dancing of the women in their sheer attire continued, Liana, the daughter of Chuanrong's high commander, bit her lip. The man smirked, one hand groping around a woman's waist, opening his mouth and letting her tender finger feed him fruits. Sometimes, it wasn't just the fingers. The man let out an obnoxious laughter now and then, filled with lust. Liana was sickened by it, but helpless against it. Liana gathered all her bravery to ask, "Crown Prince, would it be possible to release my brother?" "Him?" The man raised an eyebrow. "In front of the whole nation, he punched me. How could I just let him go after his blatant disregard for authority?" Clenching her fists, Liana bit her lip harder. "Brother was wrong in striking your highness, but he was doing it to protect me. It was all my fault. I hope your highness would consider Tuoba family's wholehearted service to Chuanrong and release my brother at once. Liana will never forget your highness's gesture." "Oh, never you say?" Crown Prince sized her fine figure up and broke out in a lustful grin. "I don't need that long, just attending to me for the rest of your life would do." "He, your highness." Liana cried out and jerked away at his obscene gaze on her. Then she trembled as she spoke. "Please mind yourself, your highness." Throwing the beauty in his arms away, the Crown Prince became bored, speaking coldly. "Tuba Liana, don't you play coy with me. Be grateful I have the time to waste on you. Tuba has been a great family for a long time, but ever since your defeat 8 years ago, costing the empire heavily, you're now criminals. Imperial father did not execute the old Tuoba Taizhan and only demoted him to captain of the guards. This is already gratitude enough for all his service. All of this was possible because I pleaded your case. What do you think would have happened if I hadn't? You'd be stripped of everything and goddamned hanged." Liana bit her lip with a lowered head. "And what do you do?" "Humph." Crown Prince went on with his tirade. "Damn ingrates, I even asked for your hand yet that old tubercoot actually refused my kind gesture. I thought his mind woke up when he came to visit me in person afterward, but he only came to me for help. That elder she had set his eyes on you ever since the war in Tianyu. His soul was redeemed by the sect so that Giza now wants to use my name to curb elder she's tendencies. As my future concubine, if a sect cast out touched you, even an ethereal stage expert, he'd still pay for it." Shaking all over, Liana lowered her head in silence. The Crown Prince walked before her with a hard face. "I accepted becoming your shield, but as long as you're mine. That old coot won't ever touch you then. But you just don't know when to quit. Saying you want to be with me only to drag out the wedding. This has been going for 8 years already. Are you taking me for a fool you use for your own amusement? Forgive me, Your Highness. Jerking, Lyanna faltered with teary eyes, looking at her pretty face with a dead look. The Crown Prince caressed her soft cheek. As she shivered, his eyes shone with desire, shouting, I don't need your apology, I want you. The Crown Prince threw himself at her and hugged her, wanting to take her by force. No, Your Highness. Lyanna struggled and wailed. In the end, she had to use her Yuan Qi to throw him off. He broke 4 stone pillars and wailed in pain. The Crown Prince, in his ostentatious attire, a pill-grown peak profound heaven expert, had just been thrown on the ground by a girl in the 8th layer. His never-ending lust had sapped his body of all the power that would make his cultivation high. He was the very opposite of Zhuofan. While Zhuofan's strength overshadowed his cultivation, Crown Prince's was nothing but an empty shell, worse than that of some rich boy getting a grip on his aching body to stand up straight. Crown Prince was enraged. Why you? Your Highness, it wasn't on purpose. Lyanna cowered, on the verge of tears, panting like an animal. The Crown Prince snarled, You have the glory of becoming my concubine, far above those dissolute women. But over these 8 years, despite not getting married, I not once got to touch you. When I tried to get closer, your brother punched me, and today you do this. You're my concubine, yet I'm forced to go to someone else. No, Your Highness. Please listen. Enough. The Crown Prince shouted in anger, Guards, bring that Tuoba Liufeng. Yes, sir. At his order, a few men left to carry it. Soon they had a tied and familiar man brought over. He looked roughed up, judging by the battered face, though his features were still clear enough to see he was Tuoba Liufeng, Commander Tuoba Tieshan's sole son. Only now, the young commander was wretched, having lost his heroic heir years back. Chapter 809, Take Her and Run. Chapter 809, Take Her and Run. Proofreader, Papatonks. Brother. Lyanna saw her brother having experienced torture under the Crown Prince, and her heart was in pain. With tears in her eyes, Tuoba Liufeng cried out, Sister, what are you doing here? Run. Humph. Why else would she be here if not to plead for you? The Crown Prince grinned. Laying your hands on a member of the imperial family is punishable by death. No matter who pleads for you in court, I have the final say if you get to be released. I can even have the Tuoba family removed from the Chuanrong Empire. Ha ha ha, Tuoba Liufeng, everyone says you're a brilliant warrior, a wise young commander, so why were you so impulsive to hit me? That punch has shattered the future of your entire family. Tuoba Liufeng shook and spat. Crown Prince, I had no intention of doing anything, but you went too far when you tried to force yourself on my sister. Force? She's my concubine to begin with. What business does her brother have in this? Humph. The Crown Prince cut him off and turned to the girl with a twisted smile. Lyanna, you're my concubine. Fulfill your duty and, ha ha ha, I'll forget about this, letting this brother-in-law keep his life. When I ascend the throne, the Tuba family will rise again to its former glory. Refuse and well. The Crown Prince threatened, it won't be just your brother's life on the line. Your father, and your family's 8 servants will follow him to his grave. I vow there won't remain even a Tuba dog alive after I'm through with you. Shuddering, Lyanna paled from dread. Tuoba Liufeng cursed in hatred, Crown Prince, take it out on me if you're a man. Leave my family out of this. Lyanna, don't listen to his twisted words. Your life will be ruined if you agree. Father and I will never agree to marry this. That's enough, brother. Lyanna shouted, looking frail as she spoke, Your Highness, let him go. I'll do all you ask. The Crown Prince had a winning smirk. Tuoba Liufeng cried out, No. Lyanna's crystal tears began rolling down her cheeks as the despair took her. Your Highness, 6th Prince is here with a strange youth. He requests an audience. A guard came to report. The Crown Prince flicked him away in annoyance. That idiotic little brother of mine has the worst timing. I won't see him. Tell him to scram. Today's my most glorious day. I'm not in the mood to cater to his whims. I'll notify 6th Prince at once. The guard left. The Crown Prince drew closer to Lyanna with a disgusting leer in his eyes. His hands shook and his mouth watered in anticipation of having his fill of this fine lady's exquisite curves. Lyanna, I finally have you. This is heaven on earth. Ha ha ha. Then my brother, Lyanna muttered. The Crown Prince sneered and waved, after we seal the deal, He'll be my brother-in-law. I won't go hard on him. Ha ha ha. Great, that's great. Liana nodded in despair, her eyes losing their light. Tuoba Liufeng's eyes burned with hatred and humiliation. A man like him actually needed his sister to save him. Boom. The sudden huge explosion rattled everyone's composure. The crown prince cried out, "What's going on here?" Whoosh. A guard flew over in panic. "Your Highness, sixth prince's guest is forcing his way over." "What? Does brother plan on rebelling to fight his way into my home?" The crown prince was fuming. "What are you doing standing around for? Take the men and capture them. Tie him up and bring him here. I'll have Imperial Father sort him out. For God's sake, Imperial Father spoils him too much. He even dares to barge into my home." The guard was hesitant. "Your Highness, sixth prince's guest is too strong. We can't even hold him back. All the men we send over are dead. I barely made it out alive to report to you and urge you to flee. They're almost upon us." Boom. His words were cut short by the rumbling explosion from behind, sending a fierce gust of dust all around. When it settled, two men waltzed out of fresh ruins around them. To make it worse, the joking manner they carried themselves with made it look like they weren't just walking all over the crown prince's lavish home, or what was left of it. "Sixth prince, is this the way?" "Sir Jouer, just up ahead, yes. Last time I saw the amazing scene in crown prince's manor right around here, the still pond." Sixth prince was all smiles as he led the way. "It's truly a wonder. I wanted this manor too, but elder brother just wouldn't budge. Not even Imperial Father would help me, saying crown prince's manor is too important to give to me. That is not proper." Zhuo Fan nodded. "True, this ain't just about the manor, but the name of the crown prince. If the crown prince's stuff gets shared to everyone, won't that make him useless? So no matter how much the emperor dots on you, he still won't do something so absurd as to affect the imperial family's image." "That does make sense actually." Sixth prince nodded, then became confused again. "Doesn't that mean barging in like that will affect elder brother's image just as well? He is crown prince after all, so ruining his manor is a bit." Zhuo Fan glanced at him. "Why should I care?" Sixth prince jerked and his eyes glittered. "Cool Tilda." The two enjoyed the short stroll to the pavilion, looking about like they were window shopping. Anywhere but at the host of this now ruined manor. It didn't get more disrespectful than this. The crown prince exploded in fury. "Sixth prince, what the hell? Are you revolting? Why did you barge your way in here?" "That's totally not it, elder brother. My idol came so I had to play the kind host. Since you have a marvelous natural attraction here, I just brought him over for a look-see." "Look your ass." The crown prince had had it, roaring. "This is the crown prince's manor, yet you destroyed it regardless just for that damn flimsy reason? You're outrageous." Zhuo Fan and the sixth prince didn't pay him any mind. Zhuo Fan was still looking around the place with a frown. "There's nothing special about this place as well. Where's that wonder you talked about?" "That lake over there, it's a real rarity. I promise it won't disappoint, Sir Zhuo." "Hey." Sixth prince stuck to him like glue as he flattered. The crown prince was outraged at the blatant disregard. Liana's dead eyes picked up Zhuo Fan looking everywhere and her hope renewed. "Zhuo Fan? Why you Zhuo Fan?" "Yeah, you." Zhuo Fan had to focus for a second to really place where he had seen her before. "Oh, Tuoba Tieshan's daughter, Liana. It's been a while. How have you been?" With a weak smile, Liana sighed in response. Zhuo Fan shrugged and walked next to the lake, ignoring all the extra people around. "It's not at all what I need." "Oh well, I knew it was a long shot even when I came here." Sigh. "So where exactly is this amazing scenery, sixth prince?" "Sir Zhuo, it's the lake." The prince skipped before him and pointed. Zhuo Fan scanned the place, still ignoring everyone else. Liana felt pain in her heart. Why was it that he was always so disregarding to everyone when she saw him? But this had to be why the people he did notice would forever be in his mind. Liana's features softened, gazing at his inquisitive look, ignoring the rare gentleness on his concubine's face. The crown prince shook from the humiliation and anger. "Call all the venerables in this manner. I want this obnoxious fool to meet a swift end. Let him know the price of ruining my home." "Yes, sir." The guard bowed and left at once. Zhuo Fan didn't know this. Still looking at the lake, the hogtight Tuoba Liufeng saw this and shouted, Shuafan, Crown Prince is calling reinforcements. Take my sister and run. Never come back to Chuanrong. Eh, who's he now? Shuafan turned to where the voice came from. Chapter 8:10, Thrashing Crown Prince. Chapter 8:10, Thrashing Crown Prince. Proofreader, Papatonks. The Crown Prince's eyes were on fire from the hatred he put in his glare at Tuoba Liufeng. He went over and kicked the tied-up young commander into the air. Humph, you must have a death wish inviting enemies. Brother. Liana cried out. Shuafan looked on with a frown at the unrecognizable Tuoba Liufeng from all the beating. He then nodded. You're that guy playing commander back in Tianyu, Tuoba Liufeng? My, how cool you are now, almost can't hold it in even. Smiley face, a play on words, since the same character is used for cool and commander. Sixth Prince grinned. Ha ha ha, Sir Zhuo, do you have something against young Tuba? He's in serious trouble right now, yet you're still being mean. Liana glared at Shuafan in anger. Well, on the last battlefield we were on opposite sides, though nothing more than that. Shrugging, Shuafan had a flat look, returning to inspecting the lake. Sixth Prince, where's that marvel you keep talking about? Tuoba Liufeng shouted in panic. Shuafan, Crown Prince has many experts. Don't be reckless and wait for them or it'll be too late. I only hope you take my sister with you when you go. Help her out of this hell. Goddamn it. You're still talking, you're still spilling the beans. Tuoba Liufeng's kind reminder had no effect on Shuafan whatsoever. Instead it only incensed the Crown Prince further, and so, the Crown Prince did what he knew best, kicking the helpless Tuoba Liufeng over and over again. Shuafan ignored it all, his mind on the lake. Still Liana was panicking and begged, Shuafan, please save my brother. He'll die. Her voice fell on deaf ears. Shuafan, my brother is being beaten up for informing you and you're just going to stand there. Liana teared up, her tone becoming sharper. You damn ingrate. Shuafan glanced over. Ingrate? Did I ask him to? He gets what he deserves for running his mouth. Shuafan bit back. Liana only grew angrier, but all she could do was stare as the Crown Prince was beating her brother. Sixth Prince, the lake is as plain as it gets. You aren't toying with me, are you? After one last look at the water, Shuafan threw a cold look at Sixth Prince, while Tuoba Liufeng's mournful howls sounded in the distance. Sixth Prince had a vague smile. Hehe, it needs to be triggered first. What trigger? Shuafan lit up, pointing at the brutal Crown Prince. Sixth Prince grinned. By throwing snow lotus seeds in, a 6th grade pill ingredient that only grows on our Chuanrong's Woolahura snow peak, will definitely get a reaction. Those seeds are something only elder brother has. Crown Prince. Shuafan's eyes flashed, but 6th Prince followed with a frown. Brother is petty and would never use the snow lotus seeds when asked. The only times he take them out was at holidays or Imperial Father's birthday. Sir Zhuo, what do you plan to do? Shuafan was walking towards Crown Prince and grabbed him in mid-swing. Startled, the Crown Prince looked back at Shuafan in anger. What do you think you're doing? Are you planning on saving this traitor? Humph, of course you would, since you're on the same side. He even informed you just now. You really think you can save him and leave? Now hold on a second. Shuafan shook his head. Your Highness, even if you beat him to death, that's your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Liana glared at him. The hope she had when he grabbed Crown Prince now turned into hatred. The Crown Prince took Shuafan for being afraid and grew bolder. Humph, rotten punk, are you begging for mercy? Humph, well, too bad. When my venerables come, you'll all leave this place as corpses. Oh, let's just leave that for later. Shuafan was calm as he spoke. I just need a snow lotus seed from you. I want to see just what fascinating spectacle you got here. Snow lotus seed. The Crown Prince mocked. You want to see the beauty of this marvel? Ha ha ha, this is Chuanrong's proof of good fortune and only the imperial family is allowed to appreciate its beauty. Bam. Shuafan flicked his hand and slammed his head into a nearby convenient stone pillar. The Crown Prince's delicate features were now marred with blood, and even some teeth fell off. This was how an eminent figure was reduced to a grotesque creature, looking worse off even when compared to the beaten Tuoba Liufeng. Startled, all were shocked. Shuafan was actually so savage against the Crown Prince, bringing Crown Prince's head around. Shuafan spoke coldly. the snow lotus seed. Don't even think. My men are coming. Bam! Zhuo Fan returned to having Crown Prince's face make intimate and brutal contact with a hard rock, again and again for good measure. When he thought it was enough, he brought Crown Prince around, his face unrecognizable the snow lotus seed. Zhuo Fan demanded, why you? Bam tilde. The snow lotus seed. Bam tilde. Zhuo Fan just kept on smashing his face into a rock while asking. The Crown Prince might think himself some big shot from the imperial family, but Zhuo Fan thrashed him all the same, until he balled the snow lotus seed. Zhuo Fan roared this time, but Crown Prince had long since fallen silent. Enraged, Zhuo Fan returned to smashing, but then he noticed the flailing arms, pointing at his bloody and toothless mouth. Zhuo Fan now realized the guy was unable to speak. The victim pointed to a building on the side as he groaned in tears, pondering for a bit. Zhuo Fan looked at Sixth Prince. Is he saying the seed is in that building? Sixth Prince, you know how it looks, so go look for it. Sure thing. The prince laughed and skipped over to the building. He didn't so much as bat an eye as his dear elder brother's face was tenderized into an unrecognizable slop, his one evil brat. Zhuo Fan thought, flicking his hand and throwing the limp Crown Prince away. Returning to the lake and staring down at it, Liana and Tuoba Liufeng were dumbstruck. Zhuo Fan was cold as a rock when talked to, but when he struck, he was a volcano. Even Liana felt a pang of sorrow when looking at the new makeover done on the Crown Prince's face. No matter how big the grudge, such an outcome is too brutal. Going after his face when it was so charming before. But then the two awoke at the dire situation they were in. Oh no. Tuoba Liufeng shot to his feet and shouted, Zhuo Fan, by harming the Crown Prince you became Chuanrong's enemy. Take my sister and go. You won't make it out when the experts come. Liana looked tense at Zhuo Fan, then at Tuoba Liufeng. Brother, why don't we just go with father and the rest? This place doesn't want us anymore. I also thought about it, but father is ever loyal to his country. He will never betray it. Tuoba Liufeng sighed. Liana lowered her head in worry and vexation, glancing over. Zhuo Fan finally recalled the past dealing and said, Dugu Zhantian also died because of his loyalty to his country. I must say, these two geezers sure are alike, ha ha ha. The siblings nodded. The marshal and commander had received such praise from the people was not just from their glorious military victories, but also their loyal character. Zhuo Fan, my father and I may die, but Liana must not lose her life in a place like this. All I ask is that you take her, let the tuberline go on. No, I still need to see the spectacle here. Tuoba Liufeng begged Zhuo Fan once more, but Zhuo Fan refused, his reason only making the brother feel helpless. Brother, is that eye candy more important than our lives? Eye candy? Zhuo Fan frowned. Is that all this place amounts to, some fancy view? A laughter broke his concentration. Ha ha ha, you think you can just walk away after ruining Crown Prince's home? Are you taking us for props? 9 powerful energies surrounded the place as elders appeared before them. Damn it, the 9 venerables of the Crown Prince Manor are here. They're at the 8th or 9th layer radiant stage, with 4 even at the peak. We're doomed. Tuoba Liufeng cried. Liana clenched her clammy fists, while Zhuo Fan frowned. Not because of the elders, of course, but that he got to the wrong place again. Chapter 8:11. Stop bothering me. Chapter 8:11. Stop bothering me. Proofreader. Papatonks. Whoosh tilde. 9 old men landed, sporting cruel looks at the trio. Among them, one guy with scattered hair, the strongest, stepped up and spat, Humph, you must have a death wish to destroy Crown Prince's manor. Where is His Highness? Tuoba Liufeng's heart sank, feeling sweat trickling down his spine. Just this guy alone was enough to deal with them, a peak radiant stage expert in a couple of years. He should be a true ethereal stage expert as well, becoming one of the Empire's legends, one of the best. With him here, the 3 had no chance of getting away. Tuoba Liufeng sighed at the grim outlook, his hopes gone. I wonder if Zhuo Fan's sudden arrival was a blessing or a curse. His sister was free of the Crown Prince for now since Zhuo Fan's intervention, but now the Tuba family would be killed because of his aggressive handling of the Crown Prince. They might even be labeled as traitors. Tuba Liana understood they were in serious danger, and her eyes still gave contemplative look to a somewhat oblivious Zhuo Fan. I asked you a question. Where's His Highness? Seeing them silent, The old man roared. Tuoba Liufeng shook, finding speaking difficult. Tuba Liana pointed to where the crown prince was lying with a cold face. Over there. I wonder if you still recognize him. That's crown prince. They all gasped at the sobbing, gruesome mishmash of features that barely hinted at what once was their elegant and handsome crown prince was now reduced to this thing. Those eyes were swollen out of their sockets, the nose more twisted than a ravine, and the former spotless denture turned into a bloody hole. The only reason they even noticed him was because Tuba Liana pointed out, stunned, seeing a face only a mother could love. The old man roared, it's crown prince's signature feature. How? Who? What gave you the nerve to harm the crown prince like this? You're done for. Whoosh tilde. The old man's anger exploded. Talk, who did this? I'll peel his skin and crush his bones. It'll be ages before I'm through with him. Tuoba Liufeng panicked under the nine's auras. Zhuofan was still in his own world, contemplating more important stuff. Venerables, I did it. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Liana scrounged up her courage and declared. Tuoba Liufeng cried, Sister. It's fine. Liana cut him off, this is all my fault. Tianyu used to say women were deadly, and now I have to admit they were right. If it weren't for me, the Tuba family would never have ended up like this. It's all my fault and I should settle it. Liana spoke with sadness and despair. Tuoba Liufeng's clenched fists shook, feeling utterly useless. Liana wanted to use her life to settle it all and save the Tuba family. No, the family was already finished. She was giving him and Zhuofan the chance to get away, but how could her brother just let his sister take the blame? Tuoba Liufeng roared at Zhuofan, Zhuofan, you bastard, is that how a man behaves, letting a woman take the fall for you? Brother. Liana cried out, having made up her mind. So why was her brother dragging Zhuofan into this? Tuoba Liufeng was firm when he saw Liana's despair. Harming the crown prince was a heavy crime, akin to assassinating a royal member, or rebelling. He could not let it hang over Liana's head. All of this happened because Zhuofan showed up. The nine venerables finally noticed Zhuofan that they ignored since he looked so quiet to the side. The nine people tensed. Eighth layer radiant stayed. He does have the power. The leading elder squinted and snickered, I see what's going on. You're the one who made a mess of crown prince's manor. Ha ha ha, I knew it was odd for a girl to admit it. When the guard reported to us, he said that none of them could fight back. How could a wee girl be so tough? Seeing your high cultivation, it all makes sense. If we nine hadn't come, none in the Crown Prince Manor would be able to hold you. Ha ha ha. Zhuofan's mind was still processing. The leading elder took it for cowardice and mocked. Ha ha ha, here I thought you had guts when attacking Crown Prince, but now I see you're full of it. It's understandable, as not even an 8th layer radiant stage cultivator can escape from us nine. Being scared is normal. But to have a girl take the blame for you, talk about useless, ha ha ha. The other 8 looked at Zhuofan with the same disdain as their leader Sir Zhuo. I brought the snow lotus seed. A whoop of joy sounded in the distance. 6th prince skipped over to Zhuofan in excitement. Zhuofan woke up at last, staring only at the 6th prince's figure. Took you long enough. Hurry up and throw them in. I want to see just how fancy this thing is. Ooh. The mockery was stuck in the 9 elders' throat seeing him ignore them. The 2 soon joined and started throwing seeds into the lake while watching for any signs. The elders' faces sank. For God's sake, here we thought he was scared when in fact he didn't give a damn about us. He's toying with us. Boy, don't think that your high cultivation is enough to do what you want in Chuanrong. You ruined Crown Prince Manor and I'll have you pay for that. 6th prince, I heard this is eye candy. Isn't that so average? Sir Zhuo, this is a true marvel, I promise. It's a true rare spectacle in this world that won't disappoint. Hey. Oh, I'm relieved. Let's just watch. Zhuofan and 6th prince were curious about the lake, even ignoring the elders' raving curses. Blatant disregard. That was what this was. The old man's face twitched as he barked. Let's get this damn faker, men. I want him dead. Yes, sir. The other elders bowed and shot for Zhuofan. Their mighty auras, filled with bloodthirst, covered the sky. Liana cried, look out, Zhuofan. Oh no, the bloodthirst is affecting the lake and it's too scared to react. The 6th prince shivered and cried. Zhuofan's face twitched and his face sank. Turning around, and seeing the incoming 8 elders, he roared, "Damn geezers, stop bothering me." Who tilde? A mighty gale shot out that went through the 8 elders. The old men lost their lives before even knowing what happened, slumping to the ground like a ton of bricks. Tuoba, Liufeng and Liana were shell-shocked. What was that? Bang! A crisp sound echoed and the leading elder felt his legs soften, kneeling on the ground. He was in the lead when the gale had struck him as well. Now he looked deathly pale and overcome with horror. "En no way. That's soul impact. An ethereal stage expert?" Zhuofan went back to his problem, the lake. He asked, "Sixth Prince, now it's quiet. Will it show up?" "Yeah, soon." Sixth Prince grinned. The two looked like they came to sightsee. They were calm and the mood was calm too. Finally only Tuoba, Liufeng, Liana and the surviving elder looked at Zhuofan with fear. This guy is even more terrible than before. All kinds of thoughts ran through Tuoba Liufeng's mind. Chapter 8:12, Flower Fairy. Chapter 8:12, Flower Fairy. Proofreader. Papatonks. Tilde. 15 minutes later, the still lake rippled. The snow lotus seeds floated inside, releasing bubbles. As each bubble burst, the seed below it was gone. The ripples became more and more numerous. Zhuofan looked focused, watching as flowers floated to the water surface from deep below, swaying in the sunlight. A total of 1,000 flowers appeared, moving about as if they were dancing. Zhuofan's eyelid twitched, looking straight at the sixth prince. The prince was smug. "Well, Sir Zhuo, isn't it fab?" "He." Zhuofan nodded. If it were only a couple of flowers having spirituality, it wouldn't be much. Maybe it was something related to their species. But with 1,000 different flowers all showing the same reaction, living at the bottom of the lake, now that was different. Just what was the deep hiding for such a scene to occur? "Is there really a world wind tunnel in here?" Zhuofan asked the sixth prince. "You just say this won't be just some eye candy, a fancy view. What did you mean by that?" "He. Well." The sixth prince wiggled his eyebrow with a vague smile. "Revival. Something I bet not even Sir Zhuo has ever experienced." "Revival?" Zhuofan frowned, understanding his thoughts. The sixth prince skipped over to the ghastly-looking crown prince. "My elder brother is the perfect candidate for Sir to witness this event." Sixth prince grabbed snow lotus seeds and threw them high, shouting, "Eat it, flower fairy." Bang! With a loud burst, the lake exploded, with a water sprout jutting out and wiggling in the air to catch them all. Then it shot back into the lake, sending a shower of fine water droplets. Each drop released a faint golden glow in contact with anything. When they touched the crown prince, one could see how with every drop, his disfigured face was recovering. Even his teeth grew back. Even the somewhat far Tuoba Liufeng, who the golden glow did not reach, was healed in moments. Zhuofan was looking inquisitively, hand on his chin. "Quick recovery, along the lines of my returning dragon's roar, if not stronger." "Sir Zhuo, well, isn't it amazing?" The sixth prince grinned. The crown prince shot to his feet, looking at Zhuofan with fear. Then he scurried away, wanting nothing to do with him. Zhuofan nodded, taking one step to pop in the crown prince's face. He grabbed his skull, cracking it on some random rock and giving him that revolting look again before throwing him to the ground. "Why?" The crown prince wailed, his bloody and toothless mouth straining to speak. "I didn't do or say anything." "So why?" The sixth prince was curious as well. Zhuofan shrugged. "It'll be more peaceful without his bullshit poisoning the air again." "This works." The sixth prince started. The crown prince cried, filled with grief. "Yes, this worked like a charm." While the Tuba siblings looked at Zhuofan in silence, he was the only one running his mouth and showing off. His highness had been a victim to maltreatment twice now, at the hand of the same demon, yet the second time made no sense. This was just not Crown Prince's day. He got beaten in his own home and twice on top of that. Ignoring the others, Zhuofan stared at the lake, then at the 8 dead elders. It was obvious the golden glow was not capable of true revival, only good at healing, just that it was far stronger than most pills. With them having their soul crushed, there was no way to make a comeback. Next was finding out where this golden glow came from. Zhuofan lifted his right hand, covered in a red and brutal glow. Chilean arm. Zhuofan flicked his hand right at the lake. Boom. The motion was that of a savage sword, splitting the lake in two. The water towered up to 300 meters as it rumbled to the sides. It left the lake bed completely exposed. Sir Zhuo, what are you doing? The sixth prince was shocked by his action. Zhuo Fan spoke, checking what's below? But there should be nothing there. The sixth prince sighed. Ever since discovering this marvel, elder brother had sent people down there but found nothing. Zhuo Fan stared hard at it, then said, just because they failed, that doesn't mean I will too. Something odd is going on here. Squinting, Zhuo Fan's soul covered the lake, feeling every nook and cranny, with no results. Is there really nothing? Just then, when he was about to give up, he felt something to one side focusing on the spot. Zhuo Fan still got nothing. Tilde. Then it happened again. Zhuo Fan focused and his right eye sported 6 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void 6th stage, Void Domain, bang. Feeling like he had hit a wall, Zhuo Fan snickered. He then pointed forward and his eye released its power. A palm-sized space pocket formed before him, holding in it a finger-sized golden person. It had transparent wings, humming as they flapped. Its hand was holding on to some snow lotus seeds, looking at Zhuo Fan in panic. What's that thing? The sixth prince cried out in curiosity. Zhuo Fan said, flower spirit, a being born of this world, like a fire spirit or blood spirit. It's nurtured by the world, until it gains spirituality. The flower spirit is a being of wood, an element with brimming vitality. That's why it can heal so perfectly. Although weak in battle, having it around is much better than having pills. Blinking, the sixth prince looked confused, but the least he could catch from that was that it was precious. The flower spirit is nature's favorite and good at hiding. No powerful expert would ever sense it, least of all catch it. A shame my void domain can create a space pocket. As long as I can sense the location, setting it up will trap this little guy, ha ha ha. Holding the flower spirit, Zhuo Fan had a manic grin, isn't that right? It kept struggling to flee, but Zhuo Fan tightened his grip, making its effort useless, until it gave up. Boom. The huge water expunged from the lake finally came down in a mighty roar. Zhuo Fan ignored it and held the fairy as he left. The sixth prince hurriedly asked, where are you going, Sir Zhuo? Finding what I came for. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone in glee. A special place with thick spiritual energy is needed to give birth to a fairy. This lake has none of that, which means it moved here. Now I'll have this guy lead the way, taking me to my destination. Hey. The sixth prince followed after him. Sir Zhuo, I'm coming too. The fairy crossed its arms and looked at Zhuo Fan in resentment, like that was not gonna happen. Ha ha ha, little guy, you sure are feisty. With an evil grin, Zhuo Fan stared at its hard face as a black thunder flame flashed in his left eye. Sometimes, being stubborn comes with a price. Are you ready for it? Shuddering, the flower spirit sweated, bobbing its head, and water gathered beneath it, as if it peed itself from fear. That thunder flame made it feel like destruction was nigh. Zhuo Fan held a tight grip on the spirit as he left, the sixth prince his faithful fan. As for the Chubas, Zhuo Fan had better things to do than mind them. The peak radiant stage elder, now scared to death, was still kneeling and shaking like a leaf. He still couldn't get over the fact Zhuo Fan killed 8 of his men in a flash. Chapter 8:13, Unstoppable. Chapter 8:13, Unstoppable. Proofreader, Papatonks. He not once looked at me. Watching Zhuo Fan's back, Liana's mood fell. She started off feeling despair, then hope, then shock, then despair again. But she ended the cycle with anger. Tuoba Liufeng sighed, Liana, cut me loose and remove the seal on me. Ah, right. Liana now recalled her brother's predicament and rushed to release his yuan qi. Tuoba Liufeng finally got his freedom back. Looking around, seeing the old man lost in his own world, Tuoba Liufeng said, Liana, this time it's grave. We best rush to father. We have to try and flee with him. With the crown prince's manor ruined, the consequences are dire. Zhuo Fan is an uncaring monster, stirring things up and making us suffer for it. We have no choice but to flee our home. Brother, how can you say that? Glaring at him in dissatisfaction, Liana pouted, if not for him, we both would have suffered at Crown Prince's hand. I can't even think about what he'd have done. Tuoba Liufeng nodded, yeah, while the punk ruined everything, he did help us. We should be grateful for it. But we first have to flee from here and not get dragged into this any further. Liana nodded and the two flew away, leaving the elder behind, still too horrified to react. High Venerable. Footsteps were heard as a guard looked around to see only the shell-shocked elder. The elder still didn't react. Sighing, the guard shouted in his ear, "High Venerable, the monster is gone." Shaking, the elder finally came out of his stupor. Seeing Zhuo Fan was nowhere around, he sighed and got up. But then he felt chilly below. Looking down, there was a wet patch. The guard chuckled and the old man went red. His glare wiped the smirk off the guard's face. Ahem, did that guy leave? Long ago. How long? 15 minutes. The guard bowed, squinting. The elder nodded. Why did you only wake me up now? Because the tuber siblings. Bam! The guard's words were cut short by the old man's palm, slapping him dead. Glancing over, the elder's eyes grew hard. Damn fool, you think you'll still get to live after seeing all that? Humph. The elder's eyes darted around. Assured no one else was around, he took out a fresh pair of pants from his ring and changed. He then rushed to the crown prince's side. Your Highness, what's wrong? Here, take this healing pill. No. The crown prince's eyes glinted with hatred, slurring his words through non-existent teeth. Take me to Elder Hu, I want them to take revenge. The elder bowed, understood. He grabbed the prince and left. There was a wide courtyard in the capital, one that had a large lion statue with the words honor and loyalty engraved on it. Above the gate were the words Tuba Manor written. Unlike the imposing gate, the wind that blew was a cold and bitter one, carrying with it a bleak tone. Along with the dust of the capital inside the manor, two men sat upright in the middle of the room, the former commander of Chuanrong and the imperial tutor, Han Tiemor. Frowning, Tuoba Taizhan hesitated before finally jumping to his feet in revulsion. Guards, summon the 8 wolf wardens. I'm going to Crown Prince Manor myself. Wait, Brother Tuba. You can't let it devolve any further, Han Tiemor urged, shaking his head. Tuoba Taizhan was vexed. Brother, Liu Feng is my only son, now trapped in Crown Prince Manor. How am I supposed to calm down when His Highness is capable of anything? No matter how restless you are, you can't just go with the city guards. Han Tiemor shook his head. The minute you resort to using the guards, and against the Crown Prince too, that would be the moment you'll be taken as a traitor. Then no one can save you. Let's say you get to mobilize all the men, what then? You're now the captain of the guards, not Commander Tuba, leader of millions. Commander Tuba Manor is packed with experts, 9 venerables of immense power. Even if you go, it won't make a difference, so what's the point? Bam! Slamming the table, Tuoba Taizhan glared. Even so, as a father, the least I can do is try. Calm down, Brother Tuba. Han Tiemor sighed. Why don't we assemble the court's officials and plead to His Majesty to be lenient on account of your past? Tuoba Taizhan shook his head. No use. His Majesty issued an unbreakable decree this time, leaving Crown Prince in charge of this. Any that interferes will be executed. Who in the court would be willing to meddle in this? Han Tiemor sighed. His Majesty is too easy on the Crown Prince, yet cruel to his ministers. People's opinion of him will sour. Master. A cry came as a servant rushed before Tuoba Taizhan. Why, young miss, she. What about her? Tuoba Taizhan cried. The servant girl jerked. Young miss knocked me out and ran away. She must be going to Crown Prince Manor to save young master. Damn that girl. Is she trying to anger me to death? Tuoba Taizhan was panicking, shouting, have the 8 wolf wardens assemble the men, surround Crown Prince Manor. Brother Tuba, you must calm down. No, not this time. At the very least, I'll have the 2 children flee while I shoulder the blame. Tuoba Tieshan's mind was made up. Sighing, Han Tiemor shouted after him. Tuoba Taizhan, do you really plan on throwing away all you accomplished? Are you going to become a criminal to Chuanrong? Tuoba Taizhan shook, but his eyes were firm. As the commander of Chuanrong, I have fought for my country all my life, and shall never betray it. No matter how much His Majesty forsakes me, I will not complain. But I am also a father. How can I just sit by and watch my children bear unjust crimes? Han Tiemor, today I may be convicted of crimes and my head will hang high above the city gates. I will have no regrets knowing I did all I could for the future of my children. Tuoba Taizhan was soon gone. Han Tiemor sighed and got up to follow Commander. The men are here. We await your orders. Outside the manor, the 8 wolf wardens were gathered. Tuoba Taishan eyed them and shouted, "We march." "Yes, sir." The 8 wolf wardens bowed, glee dancing in their eyes. The last 8 years had been spent in unrest, hardly ever fighting and always held back. Now they were going to let loose, against the crown prince no less. Yet they were still joyful. It was their honor to serve under the commander. Wait, Tuoba Taishan. Han Tiemor caught up. Tuoba Taishan didn't even look back. "My mind is set. I'm not trying to sway you. I want to come with you, old friend. It would be great if I can convince His Highness to let them go. If not, I'll be most willing to be labeled a traitor alongside you." Shaking, Tuoba Taishan laughed. "Good, ha ha ha." The army marched, their spirits uplifted, their drive ignited. Yet after 2 steps, a staggering figure entered their vision, an imperial palace guard. Did His Majesty find out already? Did he come to stop us? Tuoba Taishan and the rest were tense. If this was the emperor's decree, then before them had to be a huge army to block their path, but the imperial guard actually went and panicked at their sight. "Commander Tuba, you truly are the empire's god of war, of such brilliant mind as to foresee the imperial palace is in peril and send the men to aid it. The imperial palace is in danger." Tuoba Taishan and the rest were stunned, panting. The imperial guard showed fear. Yes, the 6th prince brought a youth as he barged into the imperial palace. His unstoppable, his almost at His Majesty's chambers. Chapter 8:14, Assaulting the Imperial Palace. Chapter 8:14, Assaulting the Imperial Palace. Proofreader. Papatonks. Boom tilde. Waves upon waves of imperial guards poured out of the palace gates, only to be blown away by rumbling explosions as pieces of their former selves, with a constant drizzle of blood going on. It marked the dark and cruel end of tens of thousands of soldiers. Zhuofan flicked his red right fist and looked uncaringly at the flower spirit held tightly in his left. It was like he was out mowing a lawn or something, and not butchering people. "Which way is it this time? Don't try to play me, you pint." Shuddering in fear, the flower spirit shook its head and pointed at a large wall. Boom. Another rumble sounded. Zhuofan found it a waste of time circling around to use the front gate, so he just made a new one right here, in the 50-meter-tall wall. The 6th prince, sticking close like any true fanboy would, was mulling over whether Zhuofan had stopped being human at this point, as he kept charging in like a raging beast. If there was no way, he'd find it. Anyone that stepped between him and his goal would leave the scene as a corpse. Or maybe, Zhuofan no longer registered these people as living beings, merely as obstacles. 6th prince, Sir Zhuo is truly reckless. This is the imperial palace he's barging into, killing left and right. With his insane power, it won't matter who he steps on, but once he's gone, you'll be left behind. He'll go, wiping his hands of it all, and you'll take the fall. Jin Buhuan and his 3 elders were overwhelmed by what they saw, crying and fearful as he urged the prince. They had followed the 2 all the way here, following Zhuofan's wake of destruction from the Crown Prince Manor. Now that they saw Zhuofan's brutality for themselves, they feared for their lord. 6th prince, we have to leave now, while His Majesty is yet to realize your involvement. We'll then say he forced us when we're questioned and be absolved of any blame. 6th prince was thinking, but he snapped, "Humph, Sir Zhuo is my honored guest. I said I'll take him to what is searching, and that's what I'll do. Since it's about to be found, I will accompany Sir Zhuo to confirm this. If you're scared, you're welcome to leave." Flicking his sleeves, 6th prince huffed and shooed the 4 away as he caught up to Zhuofan with a chuckle. "Sir Zhuo, wait for me tilde. This is insane," Jin Buhuan sighed, but then decided, to hell with it. Then he went after as well. 6th prince was their lord after all. Zhuofan stepped through anything that came before him, men or stone, with a few men following behind him with worry. What would they do once Zhuofan walked away? 6th prince didn't look to have given this problem much thought, always beaming as he watched his idol at work. "Why, Your Majesty, the criminal is just 1,000 meters away. I beg Your Majesty to flee." "Why, Your Majesty, he is at 800 meters. Please flee, Your Majesty. Your Majesty." In a tranquil garden, the peace was broken as all kinds of nervous voices shouted. The imperial guards just kept on coming one after the other, fully distraught and panicking as they reported. What they said was almost always the same. that the criminal was getting closer and they could not stop it. The people in the palace were afraid now, but also suspicious. Where did such a freak come from all of a sudden? When did Chuanrong mess with such a godly expert? None could make sense of it, not even the emperor in his golden robe. He was now frowning, stressed out by the sudden and brutal development. He had no idea what unforgivable sin might have been committed to deserve such retribution. The Chuanrong Empire had the beast-taming sect's protection. While totally disdained, beast-taming sect would still care about its name and defend it, so why? Boom. The emperor's thoughts were blown away by the sound. Looking over, he saw a hill being blown away not 100 meters from where he was. When the dust cleared, a handful of people walked out. In the lead was Zhuo Fan, the main culprit, with the emperor's sixth son at his side. Following a few steps behind were his venerables. The emperor's mouth twitched, his face falling. Son, now you're trying to rebel? What are you doing charging into the imperial palace with an outsider? Is it because I didn't give you crown prince's manner? Haven't I made it up to you with that glorious waterfall? Did you have to go this far? I'm such a fool looking after you. Imperial father, what are you saying? This is no rebellion, nor do I want your seat. You just have to sit tight and not move. Have a feast, get the girls to dance and ignore us. Sixth prince rolled his eyes. The emperor was stunned. If this is not a rebellion, why are you barging into the imperial palace? How's it my fault? Sticking out his chin, the sixth prince spoke with pride and honor. I wanted to go in, but those guards just wouldn't listen. My dear guest is quite impatient as well, wanting to get in at once. Those guards stopped us without reason, so we just went through them. The emperor's brow shook as he sized Zhuo Fan up. You broke into the imperial palace because you're impatient. Have you lost it? Couldn't you have waited for an audience with me? Shrugging, the sixth prince remained silent, ignoring their argument. Zhuo Fan looked at the spirit pointing the way to a rock garden. This way? Wait, what are you doing? The emperor shouted in panic. Zhuo Fan never paid him any mind. The sixth prince also followed Zhuo Fan like before, making the emperor twitch. The emperor roared, Son, stop him. Can't do, imperial father. How can I do what thousands of guards couldn't? The sixth prince shrugged with a chuckle, sighing. The emperor held his head. It's over, disaster is upon us. What criminal dares to make a ruckus with Tuoba Taizhan around? Following this shout, Tuoba Taizhan marched his thousands of troops into the garden, surrounding it. The 8 wolf wardens appeared before Zhuo Fan, filled with battle spirit. Your Majesty, I ask that you forgive my delay. Tuoba Taizhan cupped his hands at the emperor. The emperor was overjoyed. It's fine, Commander Tuba. You came just in time. Catch that man. Stop him from destroying everything. Yes, sir. Tuoba Taizhan bowed and shouted, 8 wolf wardens, arrest that man. The 8 wolf wardens were about to obey. Wait. The Tuba siblings took this moment to arrive. Tuoba Taizhan cried out, Liu Feng, you all. Father, please hurry and stop the wardens. We can't touch this man. We'll only earn more casualties. Rushing before the commander, Tuoba Liufeng and Liana urged him. Having seen Zhuo Fan's mighty power, they were totally convinced that not even the entire Tuba family and its army would be of any use. Tuoba Taizhan was shocked. The Tuba family was one devoted to serving their nation, always brave and sharp, never cowardly, but these two were urging him to stand down. Who is this man to make them ask their own father to stop? Is there no hope at all? Tuoba Taizhan looked over closer, finding the culprit familiar, the best steward in Tianyu, Zhuo Fan. The 8 wolf wardens looked as well and were shocked to the core. Jarlahan still remembered the bitterness he suffered back then. Faced with this old enemy, old fears resurfaced, fears powerful enough to make them falter. Zhuo Fan never spoke a word so far, but then the emperor said, Commander Tuba, you know him? Not just know him, he is the only one in my entire life that made me lose in battle. Tuoba Taizhan sighed. The emperor cried, You mean, 8 years ago, the second god of war in Tianyu, Dugu Zhantian's replacement? But what's he doing in Chuanrong? Is he a spy? The entire Tuba family tensed, looking at the emperor with twitching faces. Your Majesty, have you ever seen a commander resorting to grunt work? Chapter 8:15, Secret Path. Chapter 8:15, Secret Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Your Majesty, I don't think he would do that himself. Tuoba Taizhan shook his head, turning back to Zhuofan and shouting, Zhuofan, since you had the nerve to barge into Chuanrong imperial capital, I, as its captain of the guards, shall arrest you. Father. Tuoba Taizhan started to shout, turning to see his son and daughter shaking their heads. Father, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. He's more savage than before. Confused, Tuoba Taizhan scratched his head, once bitten, twice shy. The last time we only lost against an army. But now he's all alone against all of us. Yet you're telling me I still can't take him? Father, don't look down on him just for being alone. He'll still mow us down. The Tuba siblings knew what he was thinking, constantly shaking their heads. Tuoba Taizhan was still perplexed as to why is the destroyer of Crown Prince's manor here? For figures landed elder who, he's the one. The Crown Prince's High Venerable carried the bedridden Crown Prince as he bowed before a muscled youth. The Crown Prince crawled higher on the High Venerable's back and cursed when he saw Zhuofan, elder who, he's the one. Kill him. With me here, all will be over soon. The man turned to Zhuofan and then widened his eyes, roaring, You again, brat? Zhuofan was perplexed. Another youth next to elder who stomped hard as his features twisted. Rotten punk, I guess you don't recognize us now, but we certainly do. After that loss, we vowed that one day we'll pull every bone from your body and make you experience pain like no other. Who thought that today will be the day we'll do it? No one will save you now, not even heaven itself. The man cackled, releasing his mighty aura and making even High Venerable shake in fear. This is the power of an ethereal stage expert. So strong. Elder Lang, you have something with the kid too? The High Venerable asked. Great, now old and new grievances will be washed away today. Elder Lang's eyes were bloodshot. Humph, just a grievance. That day in Tianyu, he ruined my body. Who tilde? He didn't finish as a whistling sound was heard, followed by a large scarlet dragon claw grabbing all four of them. The four struggled for nothing, as even their souls were stuck in the draconic grip. Elder whose eyes bugged out. What is this? Soul. You're a radiant stage cultivator. How can you form a soul? Why is it so strong? The scarlet dragon claw came from behind Zhuofan like a third hand. Zhuofan looked annoyed right now. Since you survived, keep your nose down. Why the hell are two fleas coming to buzz in my ears about old times? Bam! The dragon claw clenched and the four exploded in a shower of blood, splattering on everyone around. The victims had no chance to even wail their demise, destroyed in body and soul, including the two ethereal stage cultivators. The witnesses were speechless. Two ethereal stage experts and a peak radiant stage cultivator were squashed like bugs. Tuoba Taizhan looked from his children to Zhuofan, now understanding their fear. Zhuofan was no longer human to be able to kill ethereal stage experts so easily. The 8 wolf wardens faltered and shivered. Zhuofan was worlds above them even before. Alone they were no match for Zhuofan, but using human wave tactics they could stall him. Something impossible right now. Zhuofan was beyond their reach. An eerie silence fell. Everyone regarded Zhuofan with fear. An ethereal stage expert was seen as a god by these people, but they died all the same in the easiest manner possible. Taking back the claw, Zhuofan returned to his calm demeanor. Sixth Prince, this pint is pointing at that hill. Is there something off about it? Shouldn't be. That is a view I often visited when I was small. It should be fine. The sixth prince was puzzled as he looked around. Zhuofan inspected his surroundings and smiled. So it's a concealing array, one powered by sacred stones. No wonder it's hard to see. But what's it hiding? Void annihilation. With a creepy smile, Zhuofan's right eye flashed golden twice. Rumble tilde. Something broke then and everyone's view changed. It was like a mirror had just suffered a crack and started crumbling and vanishing. Before them was a pitch-black cave in the hill. The flower fairy pointed right at it, grinning. Zhuofan walked forward, but a shout came, "Wait, sir." Zhuofan started and turned to the speaker, the Chuanrong Emperor. Only this time, the Emperor had lost his panicking look, turning grave. "Sir, no matter who you are, if you go in, you may not come back. This barrier is Chuanrong's shame, and also a catalyst. You shouldn't have broken it. No one can stop me from getting what I want. Thanks for the reminder." Fan walked forward without hesitation and jumped in. The sixth prince followed him, but the emperor shouted, "Son, imperial father, actually, I knew of this place long ago." The sixth prince smiled, his eyes sharp. "This is our empire's shame and the imperial family's disgrace. One day this barrier would have been lifted, only no one dared to, but I believe Sir Zhuo would be the one to break everything. I have seen his might in the double dragon gathering. He's not like those hypocrites." The sixth prince jumped in. The emperor wanted to stop him but could only sigh as he was too late. Tuoba Taizhan was puzzled. "Your Majesty, what's in there?" "Why? Old Commander Tuba, if they don't come out, take your men and run, or they would destroy." The emperor sighed and shook his head. "Who's they?" "Whoosh tilde." However, a figure flashed by and Liana jumped right in. Tuba Liana rushed after her. Liana, for people had just gone into the dark cave, their signature lost. Tuoba Taizhan was sweating, but the emperor held his shoulder. "Old commander, it's all up to luck now. Seeing how easy the man killed 2 ethereal stage experts, I hope he will be able to bring everyone back. Then, I wish for Commander Tuba to take my son and go." Shaking, Tuoba Taizhan looked at the emperor, lost, his face grave. "Why would his majesty ask me to flee with his son? Is the enemy, your majesty, crown prince's body? Feed it to the dogs." The emperor's eyes were filled with hatred. Tuoba Taizhan was shocked more than ever. Meanwhile, Fan landed in the cave and all he saw was a winding path through the earth. The flower spirit pointed onward and Fan nodded, but then he heard a shout from above and Fan shook his head. Sidestepping, he witnessed 3 mighty thumps as 3 people landed hard on their rear. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.